hear that? It's like the pulse of the street, a hole in the chest.
Yo, 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 you're all right. Yo, what's going on, my people? Thank you so much for tuning in. We're gonna have an amazing live stream. I want to thank everybody watching, everybody commenting. Jose, shout out to Jose, shout out to Joe, shout out to 18 letter. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody tuning in right now. Now, before I bring in Mrs. Z into the room, and so we can have this discussion. I want to just let everybody know this is not going to be a debate, even though it might sound like it, but it's not going to be a debate. It's not going to be a fight. Or anything. It's going to be a discussion with two individuals with two different ideologies, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? So, without further ado, Mr. Z, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, Radical? What's going on?
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? So, let me just catch the people up just a little bit, but for the people that might not know,
Okay.
Mr. I had a live stream a couple of days ago, somewhat controversial,
hmm
and certain things were said on that live stream where I knew it would rattle certain feathers or whatever the case is. Mr. Z ended up making a response video and reaction video towards
hmm
that stream. And at first of all, he tagged me in it, right? I saw it, and then
hmm
somebody sent it to me. Shout out to them
hmm
who sent it to me, right? And I said, "No, come on, Mrs. Z, no, not Mrs. Z," right? And
hmm
usually when I get reaction videos, they're usually kind of disrespectful. They're like, "Yo, fuck this dude," and all this other stuff. But no,
hmm
Mrs. Z was very respectful. He put his thoughts together
hmm
very well, where I'm like, okay, I understand where he's coming from. Usually, and I was like, I was gonna actually title this whole thing, I believe that Mrs. Z was right. You know what I mean? So
you trying to get ostracized from the Latino community completely,
no,
aren't
no,
you?
not, but no, there was a couple of things that I actually,
hmm
well, majority of things I agree with you. There was a
hmm
couple of things that I disagree with you, and we're
hmm
gonna go down the list on the things that I disagree with you about. But there was, but I believe that
hmm
you miss some of my context
Okay.
when I was speaking on certain individuals, right? So before we start, introduce yourself, let people know who you are, and then from there we could go at it.
For those that know, Mr. Z, Black in Effect, um, pretty much I tend to stay in the Black Manosphere side of the game, but I do speak about everything. We speak about social issues, we speak about politics, we definitely speak about power dynamics between men and women, sometimes racial power dynamics, um everything. I'm an automobile enthusiast. Mr. Z channel is all over the place, but it's usually man woman stuff concerning black men and black women. But
Yeah,
I thought that this conversation was interesting because obviously that was you made a video responding to the Nick Fuentes and the black women that were on Fresh and Fit.
Fresh and Fit, yeah,
And yeah, and then we kind of, I responded to that, and then we kind of got here. And so it's crazy because like somebody, a couple of people tagged me and Denise's comments. And my apologies once again to her for keep on calling her Desiree. It's like it's crazy because I thought it. I was like, it's not Desiree, but then I was like, it was already gone. It was gone. It was
oh yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
already said it like 5-7 million times already. I was like, okay, that's gone. It's gone,
Once you fuck up,
right?
you just keep on going. I'm like, ah,
Yeah, I
whatever.
was like, yeah, screw it, right? So, but yeah, and I corrected when I responded back to her when after she responded to me,
Yeah,
um, yeah, and then so like it's not, we're just coming from different perspectives, right? I'm not mistaken for anything but a black man, right? And
yeah,
even though I'm Haitian descent, I'm first generation American. My name is ambiguous enough where people mistake me for ADOS, um,
yeah,
or a number of different backgrounds. Funny enough, Jamaican, right? So like, yeah, so I'm clearly a black man. So like, I don't get to move in the shadows of like, oh no, I'm not right. I know black, like I don't get to play those games, right? There's
yeah, yeah,
nothing, So our perspective, and I was born and raised in South Florida.
yeah.
I've been up and down the East Coast, but I've been to New York multiple times because I have family up there. But born and raised in South Florida, so my experiences are a little different than maybe the rest of you, and so maybe that's where some of the schism comes in,
Got,
in the
got
conversation. Hmm
I gotcha. Okay, so I want to first of all start by there was a couple of things that you said, right? So I want to start by
hmm
what you said. Like I was kind of like egging black people on when I talked about George Zimmerman and what you guys gonna do about it. He's still walking
Yeah.
around. which I got.
Mhm.
Now, this is my example. Of what I told you that I think you missed my context. So I was referring
Mhm.
to the pro blacks on the FBA side. That's who I was referring
Okay.
to. The
Okay.
majority
Okay. Mhm.
people, we have to be honest. The majority of these people, these FBAs, before Tariq Nasheed came out with his own terminology, they were wearing dashikis, talking about going back to Africa and having onks and all that, right? Once he started all that FBA thing, they threw that joint out the window, talking about America first, got a bunch of American flags all over it. They even probably signed up to the army, right?
Mhm.
So my thing was with all these, fake pro blacks that I call them, that's what my response to that was. Okay, if you're so about your shit, then how come these white supremacists are walking around nilly willy and y'all not doing nothing about it? That's who I was referring to. And I gave examples of power that I
Mhm.
believe certain black people showed, like Michael Johnson, he showed power.
Mhm.
The people
Mhm.
that are freed Ashada Shakur, those
Mhm.
people showed power, so on and so forth. So that's where I was coming from. And that's what
I
I think that
understand.
you missed when I said that. You got
I
anything to
think
say?
no, yeah, and thank you. So I think black ADOS, and remember, but like I'm not ADOS FBA, but I'll let them speak for themselves. But from the outside looking in, it's a very awkward position to be in, right? It's watching as this young man gets into an altercation with this middle-aged man who already got a chip on his shoulder because he feels like people that look like Trayvon keep on getting away with these type of, air quotes crimes. And so he follows Trayvon and he targets the young man and, eventually kills the young man. And I think black people's response to that, considering this nation's history, is typical, right? Like it's the way most people around the planet would respond. And actually, back, I think they responded a little bit better than most people around the planet who find themselves in this same power position compared to whatever air quotes dominant power there is in their nation or in their society. So, as particular when it comes to FBA, I'm careful with the FBA ADOS designation and whatnot because that's not, it's they have their own schism, and being non-ADOS FBA, I kind of take a step back from that. People on my that subscribe to my channel know where I stand in the schism because I know who recently bought up the reparations movement and all that other stuff, right? So like we those in the know where this kind of newer wave of speaking about ADOS FBA and like their specific lineage and what is owed to them, or their position in this society, reparations, their political social position in this country, right? But when it comes to like the FBA segment in itself, um there's I kind of back away because there's things that I disagree with, but I understand where you're coming from. I can understand how Tariq can be a polarizing person. I can understand how his subscribers and followers, and the way they speak can be polarizing. And you know, there's different things that appeal to us at different stages of our life. Um, and at different maturity levels, different ways we comprehend. So, there are people that like that's they gravitate to Tariq and they gravitate to FBA because for them it might be more easily digestible. Like the concepts that are forwarded and the way it's spoken about is easier to digest. Where maybe if you move to another level or if you look around the corner, then the other things are a little bit more complicated, or they take a little bit more effort to kind of wrestle with. And they, let's be clear, like, we live in an era of like mass entertainment and the spectacle. So, some of the other conversation may come off boring to people. So they stay in, a certain segment of conversation about Black Americans, particularly Black Americans, descent of American slavery, and their lineage and everything that comes from that. And I give them
Yeah.
their space for that because we're talking about, to me, the two people that have been screwed the most and that are owed the most in American history are indigenous folks and Black Americans. Like, so,
Yeah.
if they're having their own conversation in their schism, then, as a non-ADOS person, I kind of fall back. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people that are subscribed to my channel know where I stand, though.
Wait, one question. If you want to answer, that's on you. Because you just said people
Okay.
on your channel know where you stand. Would you agree that
Mhm.
FBA majority of FBA, not all, but majority of FBA is anti-black?
Mhm. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I understand where you're coming from when you say, like, these are the same people. Like, all of yesterday they were walking around with onks on and dashikis. I definitely understand where you're going with that. And then when a
Yeah,
certain person with a megaphone pivoted, then they pivoted with him.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was always a schism. There was always a schism, and people have been talking about the schism for a very long time. There's a Eddie Murphy stand up where he mentions it, right? There's People have been mentioning the schism for a very long time between Black Americans and some of the blacks from the Caribbean and some of the blacks from the continent. Definitely, I think there is a push in our society for the culture war because the
Oh, something probably happened. Hello, yo, yo.
that was me. That was me. That was me. That was
Oh,
me.
okay.
That was me. Okay. But what I was saying is there's there's a push, I would argue, in our society for the culture war, right? And the culture war is being pushed because the elites are running out the back door with the money, and that's the political elites, that's the uber wealthy elites. They're running out the back door with the money, and they encourage people to fight on the bottom. And we're going to get into the kind of black and Latino schism in a minute, but even amongst black people, right? And imagine being ADOS FBA and you're put in this position and then you're watching a select few uh, when I say select few, I mean a select few from these other nations. So let's say Nigeria, for instance, a particular class of Nigerians are allowed to come to this country and then excel in this country and then be the face of black achievement in this country. You see what I'm saying? So, like,
Yeah,
then
I
people are like, well, you can, why can't you do it? It can't be racist because we're letting the the Nigerians are excelling. Why aren't you? And it's like, so do you give the Chinese reparations for Japanese internment? I mean, they're both Asians, right? They're both East Asians, right? Do you compliment the Koreans when the Chinese do well, right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
You
yeah.
see what I'm saying? So, like, it's just using foreign blacks as a buffer for, like, ADOS FBA blacks. And I'm tying all of that to say, like, I think that's why you see this kind of angst coming from FBA, ADOS, and then certain characters taking that and running with it in their own direction. Now, whether it's for their own gain or not, that remains to be seen. I ain't gonna get into it, but let's see where that goes. But
Yeah.
I know what you think. And
No, 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 no.
I'm not gonna put my opinion about that out there
Yeah,
yet like that. But
I
you
got you.
know, certain characters, yeah, they're running with that kind of angst. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that angst is warranted. That's where I'm
Okay.
coming from, right?
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Go
I
ahead.
see your point. Now, okay, so your your stream was called All
Hmm.
About Power. Or It's All About Power, or whatever, and you
Hmm.
you pretty much said
Yeah,
that black people don't have the power to harm someone, and I would disagree with that.
yeah.
I will agree with you when
Hmm.
we talk about systematically. Systematically,
Yeah.
I'll put Latinos into that too. Black and Latinos don't have the power to harm anybody systematically. But
Yeah.
outside of systematically, do have the power to harm people. Physically,
On an individual
emotionally,
basis. Oh yeah,
the
no,
individual.
I would agree with that. Yeah, yeah. No, I would agree with that. I
Yeah,
would
but
agree with that. But
systematically, I would agree with you on that.
yeah, and for
Yeah.
me, that's the thing.
Go
So,
ahead.
like, there's one thing to let's say you physically harm someone. It's one thing to hit them, and then now you're in trouble for it. Okay, fine. First, did the cop investigate? Secondly, what does it get filed on? A third, did you get okay? You got detained. Did you get arrested? Fourth, did you serve any jail time? Fifth, do you even have the money to bail out? Sixth, like, is the judge partial to you? Seventh, like, okay, what's going to be the payment or the restitution or the jail time or whatever, right? Like, all of those things factor in to systemic. So yes, an individual black person may have the ability to harm an individual Latino person, but everything downstream from that is when we start talking about what power really look like, right? That's what power really look like, right? So like that's why if you don't notice on the second video when I was responding to Miss Denise, like I'm saying like these are things that are not on the books, but you can clearly see how the society, whether it's even if it's not legal per se, how the society socially reacts to certain situations, right? Particularly concerning black people, right? So that once again, de
Yeah.
jure de facto type thing, and so I agree with you that on a one-to-one basis, yeah, a black person can harm a Latino person, but what happens after that? Right? And a
Yeah.
Latino person can harm a black person. Now that's a different question. What type of Latino are we talking about? If this Latino look like Marco Rubio, that black person's under the bridge, right? They're
Yeah.
under the jail, right? You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like this is once again, this is where we get into the power dynamics that I was speaking to earlier. But yeah, I'll pause right there.
Okay. Okay. I see you. Okay. I see your point.
Mhm,
Now let's get into the white worship thing that you just said. That you said.
mhm,
You
mhm.
said Latino culture is basically white worshiping. Where do you get that from?
Experience.
Okay.
Certain literature. Once again, we already know Trujillo, and I actually messed up when I said, um, it's was it only a Dominican thing? No, no. Actually, I asked the right question, but I messed up when I was responding and said like, Dominicans too. No, 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 no. Argentinians also. All across. Well, Brazil's Latin, but it's not Spanish. But Brazil also. Puerto Rico also. Cuba also. And like,
Yeah.
this is the thing that I think I'm careful with is I will never say I know more than you about Latin culture or more than Miss Denise about Latin culture. Like
Yeah.
that's, I'm not that arrogant.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't I don't appreciate being spoken to like I know nothing, right? Like
Mhm.
we don't all know that, and I'm gonna stand on what I said. Like we don't all know that Mejor La Raza wasn't just a Dominican thing, right?
Well, technically, it's a Mexican thing. It
But
started
the yeah, 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 but you know what I mean, the phraseology, the
the
thought that backs the phraseology. That's what I meant. But
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
The phraseology
Hmm.
started in Mexico,
Hmm.
made its way. Well, technically, it made its way down due to the Spanish.
Yep, 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 yep.
That's the main reason that even exists. In the Caribbean, they talk about blanquimiento. You know what I'm talking about? Just
Hmm.
whitening your
Yes, yep,
lineage.
yep, yep.
Due to the fact that whiteness it's seen as more pure, beautiful, and all this other stuff. Because if you would, I don't know if you will agree to this, but I think you would, that white supremacy is a global thing, right? We don't have
Yeah.
no control of what image we see on TV. We don't have no
Hmm.
control of that. It's
Yeah.
always whiteness is positive and blackness is negative, right?
Yes.
Now this kind of goes on what you said on that stream, that you said that we always see white Latinos, and the black and indigenous Latinos are never seen on TV. To me, that's a weak argument to even put out there,
Hmm.
because again, since we already know white supremacy is a global thing, what
Hmm.
control do we have on the image of a Latino on TV? You see what I'm saying? all the
Yes.
all Latinos are not a monolith, are not the same, nor do we all agree with one another's ideology. There's a lot of infighting when it comes to Latinos. A lot of people might not
Hmm.
know that, but it's a
Hmm.
lot of infighting. So my thing is, it just seemed a little weird when you said that we like to white worship, and just gave like literally like cherry picked examples when I'm like, nah, that's a little weird. You know what I'm saying?
I I don't see it as cherry picked, and I don't. I definitely understand that there's a skill. Remember, I grew up in South Florida, so I've seen the looks. I've heard the comments in English, obviously not Spanish, but I don't understand that. But I've heard the comments in English, right? I've like I grew up in like Miami. Not even let's be very clear. Not just South Florida, right? When people refer to South Florida, by the way, they're talking about Dade, Broward, and West Palm Beach County, right? Palm Beach County. No, I didn't just grow up in South Florida. I grew up in Miami, right? Like the heart of it. So I've been around Latino, and I've seen this also, right? So and I definitely agree with you. I'm not saying that there isn't a schism or like not all Latinos buy into this, but what I'm saying is this is like the background music, right? This is the theme, and I think that does have an effect on how Latinos don't only interact with Afro Latinos, right, but also black people outside of just the Afro Latino community. Number one. Number two, once again, I'm not arrogant enough to say that I know more than you. What I am saying is that these things are like kind of well known. Number one, number two, it was very interesting. I don't know if you heard when I brought up the young women that were speaking to Charlemagne, and I want to say Andrew Schultz, but this was forever ago, right? This is, I don't know how long ago this was, and they referred to themselves as Afro Latina, and like this was like the first time a lot of people ever heard that phrase before in our kind of general age group, and I was like, where the hell have y'all been, right? And like it was interesting to see the response from like, quote unquote lighter, brighter Latinos about this kind of group of people that they attempt to marginalize,
Yeah.
right, within the Latino community. And I'm tying all of that to say, like, I understand that a it's not a uniform agreement
Yeah.
about what a Latino is. First, we got to get into some ugly stuff. To race is a social construct. Fully understand that, but within that social construct of race, like, is Latino a race, or is it an ethnic group? Is it a culture? Right? It's not a religion, but like what you have Latinos spanning the gamut between Fabulous, J Lo, Ricky Martin, Shakira. You see what I'm saying? Like, these are all Latinos of like, just insane background, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pepe, like all of these people are like Latinos, right? Mario Lopez, like, you see what I'm saying? Where like when people say black, what they really, we all know what they mean. They mean, we follow your lineage, we're gonna end up in Africa. We're gonna end up in Africa within the past 500 years,
Yeah.
right? Like, like within the past 500 years, we're gonna end up back in Africa, right? So we understand what they mean by that. When we say European, we know, hey, we follow your lineage within the past 500 years, we're gonna end up back in Western Europe, probably, right?
Yeah.
Probably, but Eastern Europe and whatnot also,
Yes.
so we get into that conversation. So I'm rambling to say, like, I get what you're saying. I still
Yeah.
stand on what I'm saying, where there is somewhat of a white worship culture, and that's even why you get the kind of pushing away of the Amara La Negra types, right? Like, and the fact that people found out that Fabulous was black, I mean Latino, and they were like, oh, Fab is Latino. It's like, yeah, Negro, like, there's a bunch of Afro Latinos running around, like Noriega. All of these people are like Afro Latinos. What are you talking about?
And it goes again with the whole propaganda of
Hmm.
visuals of
Yeah.
going through, seeing people on TV, which goes to your point,
Hmm.
about the whole light in the skin. But when it comes to Latinos, I think Latinos is a very interesting thing because we are a mixed race group that
Hmm.
don't see each other's race whatsoever. We talk about how, either nationality or ethnicity. You feel me? But
Hmm.
let's be real. I'm not saying that we're blind to color. No,
Yeah.
obviously.
Hmm.
We know who's black or who's not. And we even say it either in our songs or we even say it within, calling someone, hey, negrita, come here, or, you know what I'm saying? We have
Hmm.
these little nicknames and they're loving nicknames. You know what I'm saying? In translation, it
Yes.
might sound a little wild, but
Yeah.
in Spanish, it's not really like that. Now, it's very interesting how going back to the Afro Latino thing,
Hmm.
I don't know if you know the history of it, but it was a bunch of Cuban refugees who started the whole Afro Latino thing in New York. That was like around, I believe, around the mid '60s or early '70s. But they
Hmm.
started the whole Afro Latino thing,
Okay.
basically embracing your African ethnicity and
Yeah.
heritage and all this other stuff. Right now, with that being said, it's very interesting where there's Latinos who can embrace their African lineage, but then they still will get erased by certain black folks by
Yes.
saying that you're not black or whatever the case is,
You're not black enough type talk. Yep.
or
Yep.
or,
Yep.
or whatever. Do you consider that do you consider that anti-black?
I and to a certain extent, yes, I do, and I understand where it comes from, because just like there is a schism within the Latino community, within the Black community, there's a skin shade beauty hierarchy also, and that's where you get, and it mainly comes from, sorry ladies, I gotta throw you under the bus. It mainly comes from the ladies because, once again, like I was responding to Miss Denise, racism is about treatment. Yes, it is. And so if you're a darker skin, medium size, broad nose, kinky hair Black woman, and you are considered Black the same way, Kamala Harris is mixed, all right, but the same way Kamala Harris is considered Black, or the same way a Mariah Carey is considered Black, or the same way a Halle Berry is considered Black, or the same way Alicia Keys is considered Black, right? And like, it's like, wait a minute, right? And then you're not, y'all are all air quotes Black, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the treatment isn't the same. And
Mm.
so that's where you get certain Black people, namely Black women, who make this distinction between, like, no, but those people ain't, they, like, right, like, that's why, like, you see certain Black people, namely Black women, say, like, Zoe Saldana's, like, she looked like she got an identity issue. By the way, she really does. But also, why is she in the same realm as me, like, when we all know, like, she ain't gonna be treated like a Black person like me, right? Like, she's Black, but is she black, right? And
Yeah.
I understand where it's coming from, right? And in the same way, like, you see this schism across the, like, people of color situation, right? You hear this amongst just everyone about, like, how darker skinned people are treated in their racial group versus how lighter skinned people are treated. You hear
Now,
this from
now,
even from the Indians, right? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
would you consider that that schism? Do you consider that a little bit of jealousy from dark skinned people?
Yes,
Mm.
yes, and I, it's warranted. Like,
Mm.
I'm not one of those people that minimizes it because it's jealousy. Like, it's warranted jealousy.
Mm.
It's what, if me and you are brothers,
Yeah.
and our dad comes home, and every time he comes home, he gives you 50 cents, but he gives me $1.50. You ain't
Mhm.
gonna be jealous, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
But
it's you know,
will I contribute that to color though? I wouldn't know.
yeah.
Maybe I will contribute that to either on your personality. Maybe I'll contribute that to, like, God knows what. Maybe you got his favorite pajamas on. I don't know. You know what
But
I'm
this is
saying?
the thing. No, I'm saying, like, if this is, first of all, if this is a constant, number one, if you hear little sideways comments, number two,
Yeah.
if you see, wait a minute, the neighbor's dad does the same thing to his darker skinned son, and then the other neighbor's dad does the same thing to his darker skinned son, and the other neighbor's dad does
Mhm.
the same thing to the darker skinned daughter, right? They always give the darker skinned person the extra dollar. Wait a minute, there's something there. And then
Yeah.
all the fathers like, no, 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 it's not that. And like you said, it's because, that the darker skinned son and the darker skinned daughter, they're they're better, they act better, they're smarter. I'm giving them extra because they're doing more. And it's like, bruh, dad, I'm the one who washed the dishes. I'm the one who mowed the lawn.
Mm.
I'm the one who, like, and you see that in our society. So yes, a bit
Also,
of that is jealousy, and it's
also,
warranted. Yeah,
also,
go ahead.
but talking about that jealousy also is
Mhm,
perpetuated within Black folks. There's Black people
mhm,
that look either for
mhm,
white folks or look for light skinned Black people just to
mhm.
get with them so they can have light skinned babies.
Treatment.
It's not
I said
only
it before. Yeah, treatment. Yeah, yeah.
it's not only in the Latin community talking about mejorando la raza, it's mejorando Black folks too, because
Mhm.
uh Black people practice the same thing.
It's I there's a slight caveat to that because I'm not gonna fully disagree with that. The line is black folks ain't trying to go all the way white though. Maybe light and bright, damn they're white. Don't forget the last part of that, light bright, damn they're white, right? So the line, there's a line of, like, okay, we cross into this, now we white, and that may not be where we're trying to go. Maybe a color hierarchy, right? But at the end of the day, there's studies that show, like, at the end of the day, light skinned people just be black people end up in the same type of poverty that the darker skinned brethren end up in, and, like, have similar, right? Not exactly the same, but similar prison sentences. Like,
Yeah.
you get a little bit you get a little bit more leeway, but you still black, and if you're perceived black, then that's your ass, right? So
Yeah.
Ti is a prime example. Like, Ti and Boosie are prime examples, right? Like, yeah,
What
Ti
happened
might.
to Spice? You heard? Yo, I think yo yo.
My apologies, radical. That's me. That's me. I keep on switching screens and then
No,
my
it's
phone
okay.
locks and you can't hear me. But
That's
what I was saying was
what about
like T. Go
about
ahead. Go ahead.
what about Ice Spice? Is she damn near white? You know, she got a Latin mom, a FBA dad. Is she damn near white? Is that where it goes? Is that where it stops? And then
No, I would say Mariah Carey is where it stops. Mariah Carey, and
Drake's
not
son.
even Logic because Logic's too damn white. It's not Logic is when you go too far.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Drake is the line.
What,
Drake is the line. Not even J. Cole. J. Cole, you could tell he's clearly black.
so
Right? He's mixed, but you could tell he's black.
so if
Hmm.
that's the so if that's the line talking about damn near white,
Hmm.
how come there's also bleaching within the black community? There's also that type of that
Which
type of thing.
okay, so this is where we get into now. This is when we get into FBA talk, right?
Okay.
FBA ADOS talk. Which black people?
Let me which black people. I'm just talking about
Which,
black people in general.
yeah, no. Which black people in?
If I'm gonna separate,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say immigrant black folks and American black folks.
I would argue, and this is coming from an immigrant black person. FBA ADOS are not bleaching, not nearly. I wish there was I wish there was like a legal distinction, and we could really see the difference between like coming from a immigrant background and not, because I think it would be so revealing.
Oh
I'm
no,
not saying, by the way, I'm not.
I know.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I came from Dominican Republic
Yeah.
not too long ago,
Mhm.
and no, I've seen the bleaching on some of the dark skin
Yeah.
Dominican women. I've seen it. I seen it.
Yeah.
Listen, I seen the Beyonce complexion with dark hands. You know what I'm
You
saying?
see what I'm saying?
I seen it. But
Yeah.
I've
Mhm.
seen it also on Black Americans. For example, Little
Yeah.
Kim. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. No. But remember Little Kim's background though. Little Kim's not ADOS all the way, right?
Oh,
So
wait, ADOS all the way.
is she?
Are you
Yeah, from my understanding, I think at least one of her parents are from the Caribbean.
are you
I think
stealing?
that matters.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I think that mattered, and that was the point I was gonna make. Thank you for getting us here, because that's the point I was gonna make, which is like I think if we really knew, if like people walked around with like a banner over their head of like particular background, but like like if it had a list of ingredients of like certain things, I think it would be so revealing of like what some of the issue is, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's not me saying that ADOS do not buy lightening skin cream and bleach. I'm not even saying that. That's not where I'm going. What I am saying is I think it would be very revealing, because my argument is that I think black immigrants probably participate in that more. I think when you look at the way black Americans in America
Yeah.
push against white supremacy, like in good and bad ways, you have just a myriad of I'm not going to follow these social norms, political norms. I'm not buying into what you think is valuable. I think that's where you get some of the ratchet culture, some of the like sticking your birdie up at any type of authority, not just police officers, right? All of that. I think that's where you get that from,
Okay.
right? And I'm tying that to the skin bleaching by saying I think ADOS, I'm not saying that they're not engaging in all of these different things. I'm saying you have a different culture because they're in the belly of the beast. It is one thing to be born and raised and have a lineage going back literal 4 centuries at this point of being in the world's most premier superpower, right? I think there's something to be said about coming from Nigeria, coming from Haiti, coming from Dominican Republic, coming from anywhere, Brazil, as a black person, as compared to your lineage goes back to 17 something, 16 something in America.
Now,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Go
No,
ahead.
let me just say one thing.
Mhm.
Saying that black immigrants bleach more than black Americans doesn't negate the
Mhm.
fact that black Americans do it.
Yeah,
It still happens. I really could care less about the number. The thing is, it's still happening, and it still does it right
yeah.
now. If we're talking about a culture of bleaching, I've never seen
Mhm.
a culture of bleaching. I've never seen.
I'm pretty sure the Southeast Asians would disagree with you on that one, but yeah,
But
the
what
South Asians better yet. Go ahead.
of that culture part of the Southeast Asian saying that okay, you're supposed to respect your parents, make your bed, do this. Oh,
Hmm.
by the way, don't forget about the daily bleach cream that you got to put. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
What
Yeah.
part of that is the culture? Because it seems like it's an individual type of thing. There's individuals who do see whiteness as okay, it's pure, it's good, it's going to give me benefits or going to give my children benefits. That's the reason why I'm going to lay up
Hmm.
with this white woman, right? Oh,
Hmm.
and there's also people saying that listen, I'm still going to date black, do black, but I'm going to be a little light skinned when I do it. So what's the name of that culture?
Here's something. Here's
Hold on,
something.
before you go, shout out to CD for the $5. He
Mhm.
says going with phenotype over genotype offering results in what inconsequences in
Inconsistencies.
inconsistencies.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hey,
Shout out to CD. So go ahead.
I'm gonna ask a question. It's gonna sound silly, radical. When you if I gave you a crayon and a piece of paper and asked you to draw something, would you do it standing up or sitting down?
I'll do it sitting down.
Okay, why would you do it sitting down?
Because it will feel more comfortable that way.
And you were taught that.
Well, yeah, I've seen other people do
Yeah,
it.
and you were taught that. And you were taught that so long ago. You don't even realize that when you're going to sit down to draw this thing, that you were taught that. You see what I'm saying? You were taught it so long ago as a kid not to draw on the wall, right? That because if you look at it, remember all those cave paintings and all those cave drawings were on the wall. You see what I'm saying? There's a reason for that because they weren't taught. There was no one to socialize cavemen not to draw on the goddamn wall. You know, so I'm tying that to ideas of the color hierarchy and why we push back to certain things and why we accept certain things by saying our society socializes us into a way of thinking and nobody necessarily notice something, many things that we do nobody actually overtly told us, right? You just know, and you know because you observe as a child. Those synapses, they're all clicking, right? They're clicking fast, and you're getting it, right?
Okay.
So even with the way we treat people, I think there was a study that said like by the age of 5, kids understand the racial hierarchy. Like this is where you get the doll test from, right?
Yeah.
This is where you get the doll test. They're testing like people for of varying ages, but they start off around like what 4 or 5 years old kid, 4
Yeah.
year old kids.
Somewhere
So
around.
how does a kid who parents remember they're testing white kids, black kids, Latino kids, Asian kids, and almost all of them are all saying white doll the prettiest, black doll the ugliest. Not only just ugly, black doll is the least the one you can trust the least. White doll you can trust the most, right? Black like and these are 5 year olds. So the
Yeah.
society has already taught the 5 year old. You know what makes it even crazier? When questioned, the 5 year old, the 6 year old even understands where they rank in the hierarchy. You know how frightening that is? By 5, 6 years old, the society already lets you know where you are.
Yeah.
That's not your parents. That's television, right? That's what you remember. Kids may not be able to articulate it, but they know it, right?
Yeah.
So that's television. That's the way you see certain. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Everything you just said right now goes
Mhm.
against that word culture. So just because an individual was taught one thing, for example, sitting down to draw, whatever the case
Mhm.
is, other people were taught to stand up, to draw, or even thought about it themselves, right? But my main
Mhm.
thing is, when we say that word culture, that means it's something that's not only taught, it's actually celebrated and actually dragged down by generations and generations, right? So that's something very dangerous to say.
Is
That
culture always celebrated?
no, what
That's
I'm saying,
yeah,
no, what I'm saying
yeah.
is when it's a part of someone's culture, that means only these certain people do it, and they do it this way, and it's because of this and this and this is some historical reason, right? My thing is, it's very dangerous for certain people to say bleaching is part of immigrant culture or Dominican culture or whatever the case.
Oh, I didn't say that, by the way.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Okay.
when people say it's culture,
Hmm.
that to me that's very dangerous because you're adding a
Hmm.
lot into it, and then to say yeah, it's just their culture, it is what it is, just like dismissing it like we haven't seen or have examples of Black Americans doing the same exact thing. You know what I mean?
Once again, what I'm saying is there's a lot, and when I say culture, once again, we already admitted, that the Mehar Razat thing, that's a phrase that like transcends borders, right? That's a phrase that transcends borders, right? And that's taught. And you said celebrated, right? And so I'm not. It's not whether it's positive or negative. Clearly, number one, it's negative. That's number one. But it's not about whether it's positive or negative. It's whether this is like a fact. If I can go from Mexico to the DR to Puerto Rico to Argentina to Nicaragua to Venezuela, you see what I'm saying? Like, and this is like a theme. It doesn't mean everyone to a man buys into this, right? It doesn't mean that every woman buys into this. Of course not. As a matter of fact, you could have a sizable portion of the population that doesn't buy into this. But what about the people in position? What about the people in power? I remember watching Nando, I forgot Nando's last name, Latino Cat, and he was speaking about like how so much of the Latino community in America is of Mexican descent or some type of Central American descent. But when you look at the people who own much of the media in the Latino American community, or just the overall Latin diaspora, it's these very like whitest of white Latinos, right? And like that culture that forms behind that, right? Like that's what I'm speaking to. And I'll pause right there. I hope I'm making sense.
No,
But
no,
go
I,
ahead.
I know exactly what you're saying, and let me just break that down for a little bit by
Hmm.
asking you this: those, uh, white Latino elites, do you, in your opinion, do you think that they see themselves as Latino?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. Run. Say that one more
The,
time.
the the people who's running the gambit of Latin America, the businessmen and all that, those
Hmm.
white folks that you just talked about, do
Hmm.
you think they see themselves as Latino?
Yes and no.
Okay, break that down.
Yes and no. I think they do, for the ones that are, first of all, like not if you're German and you just so happen to own a business in Mexico, like that's not the people I'm talking about, right? But if you 2 3 generations in and you're like the grandson of some white person that might have came from Germany 2 3 generations ago, then of course, um, yes, I say yes, but I also say no because I think many of these people just see themselves as like beyond borders, right? Beyond.
I think you switched your screens again, bro. I think you did what you did last time. We can't hear you.
My apologies. My apologies.
It's all right.
Hopefully you can hear me now. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I do think that these people, yes, I think they see themselves as Latino. And first, I'm putting extra on them, right? We're just making assumptions here, but um, yes, I think they see themselves as Latino, but I also think that they may see themselves as, what they call a citizen of the world. Like you're beyond borders. You're, you have no limitations. You know, yeah,
Yeah.
would you mind if I address something?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, and I wouldn't have a problem if you were to bring Miss Denise up, but something she said here, which is hear how these hear how these clowns have the audacity to demand we read even further about AA history when they can't get the basics of Latam right. Okay. Um okay. I think that, and this is why I think, if you don't mind, us kind of going back to the ADOS FBA thing,
Go
for a
ahead.
second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think this is when we get in. Okay, okay, okay. Nobody ever says to white people, "Nigga, we don't want to learn more about your history, even the history that predates America." You realize in classes we be learning about like Roman history. What the hell does that have to do with America? You
No,
see what I'm saying?
no, I get, I get it.
We learn about Greek history because what white people are telling you is, let me show you the greatness of us and our whiteness.
Yeah,
That even we've been gods since been gods.
I learned the year the French built the little French town. Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, there's you know what I'm saying. So like, and I'm saying that to say like, this is where ADOS and FBA come from, because it's like, how dare you Negroes ask us to know more about you? Why can't you learn about us? And it's like, you, hey, let me ask you, when you go to a store, right, and when it's time to ring up, what do you do?
I put it in my pocket and I'm just playing.
No, no,
No,
you see what I'm saying?
no. I once I go to the store, I'm about to pay. I just
Yeah.
go.
You go to the register, and if somebody's in front of you at the register, what does that mean?
Let me. I'll wait. That's it.
You in the line.
Yeah.
You're in line. You're in the queue. We understand that white people are in front of the line. We understand, even if indigenous folks in America don't have the power, we can understand why that person is second in line, even though they might should have been first in line. We understand. But when it comes to Black American ADOS FBA, all of a sudden we're like, nigga, why do we gotta respect you, and what the hell you talking about?
Yeah.
Why can't you learn about us and our thing?
I
Why
believe,
can't it be equal all of a sudden? You ain't saying that to the white person who stole everything.
I believe, respectfully speaking, maybe I hope I don't butcher what Denise was trying to say, but
Yeah.
I believe what she's trying to say is that if you're gonna engage in conversations based on Latino culture or
Mhm.
Latino-ness or whatever the case is, at least know some of the basics
I
before
understand.
going into it. You know what I mean? I think that's what she
Mhm.
means. I don't know if that's what she really means. This is how I'm engaging it. She probably means
Mhm.
something
Mhm.
completely different. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I see your point. But let me address one thing that you said. I'm gonna go back to the street. You
Mhm.
said that white supremacy is, well, no, I'm sorry. I said white supremacy is overused, right?
Mhm.
And you disagree with that. You said that white supremacy isn't used enough. Break that down.
Yeah. I'm speaking English. You're speaking English. Where does English come from?
Europe.
Okay. And you were forced to learn it.
Yeah, yeah.
Your concept of how economy should work, your concepts of what luxury is, your concept of what beauty is. And when I say you, and I'm not specifically talking about you, radical, you know what I'm saying? Like those of us in the West, quite frankly, on the planet, because it's not even a Western thing anymore. That's why the Japanese are getting double eyelid surgery so they can look more white. So, right. So,
Okay. All right.
you know, so like all of these, we were just talking about skin bleaching, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
see what
yeah.
I'm saying? So like, so when I say like we don't, I think this thing is so ubiquitous. We don't even give it thought about how much of our thought process, the way we feel, the things we aspire to be, right, or the people we aspire to be, the way we think about intelligence, the way we think. I don't think we actually give it thought. That's what I was speaking to, by the way, when I was speaking to you sitting down, if I give you a crayon and ask you to draw something, it's so ingrained that we don't even give a thought of how much of this is some white stuff, right? And for the good and bad of it, like, okay, if I get it, like not every minute of every day people want to be like, oh, white this and white that, and they're oppressing me this way and that way, because it's draining, number one, and a lot of people see that as defeating. It kills your spirit, it kills your drive and your motivation. I can understand the people that they feel like that, so they don't give it thought. They're like, nah, man, Z, you're doing too much. I can understand. I can give that grace. I get it, but be very clear. If you really were to break down how much of you now versus a you, if the Europeans didn't sell out the Atlantic and do what they did 500 years ago, right? And let's say magically you ended up on this land somehow anyway. I don't think we really give it thought on how much different we would be moving, thinking, feeling. Or even if there was another group, if the Asians were the one that came to Africa and did what they did, came to the Americas and did what they did, how much different that would be. We're already seeing that. We're already seeing the difference with the rise of China now and how the America has to maneuver, right? But for a couple decades, it was just America when the Soviet Union fell, and that was a different. America got to move about on the world a different way. I'm using America as an example of white people, right? It's different. It's even different in automobile. I'm a big car head. It's even different in automobile design. If you want to know why BMW have these big gaudy grills now, it's because the Chinese like that. That's why, right? They're
Wow.
recently rich
Know that.
and they like those big gaudy grills because they want you to know they're driving a Beamer.
Yeah.
That's why all these grills on these luxury cars then got huge. And I'm saying that to say, like, if you don't know that, then you just think BMW's just doing that, or Audi or Benz. All of a sudden, all these car companies, they started drawing larger grills, and but no, it's because the Chinese who are,
I thought it was good for more airflow. I didn't know that was.
that's a plus. That's a plus, but it's really because the Chinese like that. The
Oh,
Chinese of wealth like that,
I
right?
didn't know that. Yeah. Okay.
And and I'm tying that to the conversation by saying this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you really were to sit down and be like, yo, how much of what we do is white, or like was inspired by a white person, or like, so it
Yeah.
I when I say we don't use white supremacy or whiteness enough. Okay, perfect example. And I'm so ripping this off of the, not the Black Authority, but Professor Black Truth. We say the media,
AKA the
but
same person. I just play.
right, yeah. A lot of people. I don't think it's the same person, but I can understand why people do.
Yeah.
Perfect example. When he said it is so genius. We say the media, but who owns the media? Who are the vast majority? As a matter of fact, the vast majority of news anchors, even outside black people, don't know. Like, white people are no longer 80% of the country. They're no longer 70% of the country. They're like 65 or something, and decreasing fast, like 60% of the country. And that's why they said in a couple of decades, this country is going to be majority minority country. So white people are still going to be the largest population, but they won't. They'll be under the 50% line, right? They'll definitely be under the 60. I think they're around 60 now. Why I'm saying that is, will that change anything if they're the power? If the way people of color think still defers to white folks? I would like to direct you to South Africa, right? You see what I'm saying? And I have this theory, and I'll shut up after this because I know I'm rambling. If you know some of the Star Wars lore, then you know, like, the Sith were actually a race of, like, whatever on a planet, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were a race of people on a planet. They were a race of whatever on a planet. But and they're the ones who really messed with the dark side. But we got so far removed from that people still mess with the dark side, including human beings, but they then refer to themselves as the Sith. The Sith, from what we know, may have died out at this point, but everything about them still continues. What I'm saying is that's the socialization I'm talking about. You don't have the red people walking around anymore, but yet the human beings and all these other beings around this galaxy still, when they're using dark side, and they call themselves Sith.
Yeah.
Although the actual Sith aren't there. Socialized whiteness. That's what I'm saying. Whiteness.
Well, let me just try to break down on why I agreed to white supremacy is overused.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen some of this phenomenon, but certain the media or certain people online would just call either something or someone racist just for whatever reason, even though it's not racist, or for whatever reason. For example, if a white dude is just walking by, gives a homeless person, a white homeless person, $1 right next to
Mhm.
a black homeless person, and he just had $1, he gave it to whoever he saw first. Oh, that's racist. How come he couldn't give it to the black? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, overly used racism, just saying, oh, that's racist and this and this and this. For example, I don't know if you agree to this, but
Mhm.
when that homeless dude got choked out by that white military guy, right? Everybody online, even these individuals who have big platforms, who were like, "Yo, this is white supremacy. This is racist." That I didn't see that as racist. Now, was he supposed to die? No. Should he go to jail for killing that person? Of course, 100%. But I don't see him doing that as racist. I don't see him waking up that day saying, "I can't wait to choke a homeless dude," as something that he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I say that's what me and Denise say, that it's
Mhm.
overused. Like
I
this thing of just calling everything racist here and there is overused.
so notice I if you ever check out my channel, I don't use the term racist
You know,
pretty often.
like white
Um,
supremacy, right?
yeah, or even white supremacy. I don't use too often. Um, Here's the thing. I don't think it's about whether you woke up in the morning saying I'm gonna go kill me a homeless black person, right? I don't think it's about that. When put in the position, how do you register this person in front of you? If this was a white person, would you have given them grace? Would you have responded different? Would you have kept on choking them, right? And that's things that usually are up in the air until we do experiments, until we do the name test, right? Until we do the application test, which is, by the way, if people don't know, the application test is, you know, you put out a bunch of same applications, you change up the name, and the more black sounding names, you see how people respond to them, how
Oh,
employers respond
yeah,
to them compared to the white sounding names, right? And what you find is the black sounding, by the way, exact same qualifications, exact same accomplishments. How do the employers respond to the black sounding name versus the more white sounding names? What I'm saying is, when put in position, how do just people in America respond to this? By the way, they even show anti-black bias in black people. The difference is black people stop at a certain point, because I think what hits us is like, wait. I'm gonna press group two. Wait. What am I doing here? Right? So we stop at the line of death penalty. We stop at the line of like, wait a minute, should this person be serving 30 years in prison for this? We stop there, right? We're like, wait. Let me reel it back. Let me think. But other groups of people who don't have to consider what this system does to marginalized groups, and that's the, by the way, Latinos are over here with black people in many respects on this. So I'm not adding Latinos into this part of
okay,
the conversation. These other groups of people don't have to consider that, because they're not only have they as an individual not been put in that position, the group that they belong to, which is higher up on the hierarchy, also isn't put in that position in large part, right? In certain individuals sometimes, but in large part not. So
yeah,
in a weird way, I'm gonna use the word color, but it colors the way you think about these things,
yeah,
right? So when we say white supremacy, and you tie that to the retired soldier, the soldier in the
military.
military guy. I said, I don't know why I said soldier, but the military guy and the homeless dude, when in the situation, would he respond? And by the way, we don't know. We may have a good guess, but we don't know. Go
We
ahead.
can use we can use some of our common sense by the fact
Mhm,
that in that video we seeing other individuals trying to restrain him as well. So to
mhm,
me, it tells me that something must have happened where they're trying to restrain him. Now I do shout out to Kevin Z.
mhm,
I agree with him. He said Daniel Penny should have used only enough force to get the homeless black dude Jordan Nelly under control,
mhm.
not choke him to death. That's true. He took it too far. I do
Can I
agree
give
with
you an
him.
example of that?
Go ahead.
There were I want to say, and Kevin C might actually remember this. You might actually remember this story. There were some, I want to say, Australian dudes visiting the US maybe a decade ago, maybe long ago. I want to say it was Australia. It might have not been Australia. It might have been one of the northern European countries, like excuse me, give me a second, just in case I went out. Okay, no, it might have been Norway or something like that. Some white officers or people that are officers in another country, and similar situation happened on the train where a dude I think might even been stabbing somebody, something like that. I might be getting the particulars wrong. They were able to restrain the guy. They were able to restrain. They didn't kill him. They didn't harm him too bad. They were able to restrain. You know why? Because they're trained in that way, and because their thought process isn't exactly the same when it comes to the hierarchy, right? When it comes to the racial hierarchy. So they were trained to be able to restrain people without using a weapon, and they don't necessarily see these things that way. Now, the person that they're restraining, it might have not been a black person, if I remember correctly. But the point I'm making is they were able to restrain this person without killing this person. It can be done. What I'm
Yeah,
arguing is that because the way we see black people in America, we never give that a second thought as a society. I'm not saying as individual white or Latino or Asian, anyone non-black. I'm saying
yeah,
as a society, we don't give that a second thought, because in our society, we understand, like that's why I brought up the doll test. We understand from the age of 4, 5, and 6
yeah.
who's up and who's down. So what does that mean when you're 35?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And now you have this homeless black person making a disturbance on the train, right? And especially if you're not used to that in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Certain New Yorkers are used to that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That ain't nothing,
No,
right? As long you don't step on their shoe or you're not all up on, right? They're used to people doing all type of wild stuff on trains. I've been to New York multiple times. Craziness,
yeah,
absolute pandemonium, right? But you know, if you're not used to that, or if you already have a bias, which we all do, so I agree with Denise and you on that, and you see this black person acting a fool or being or which you deem as threatening on the train, which by the way, that's a kind of ambiguous term when we start thinking about it,
yeah,
then of course you're gonna, you did do this, and like I agree with Kevin C, and then you take it too far.
yeah.
Because in the back of your mind, it may not be, and I'm gonna shut up in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It may, I'm not, I agree with you. It may not be you woke up in the morning, I'm gonna go kill me a black person. But in the very hind part of your mind, like he black and it look like he homeless. Ain't nobody gonna care about this,
No,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Go ahead.
I see your point. But
Mhm.
I just find it very interesting about the hypocrisy of certain individuals. Talking about, oh my God, he's a homeless guy, and I'm over here thinking, when was the last time you gave money to a homeless guy?
Yeah.
Just made the news. Now you care. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Mhm.
hypocrisy of everything. But
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right about that. You're right about that.
I got a question real quick. Do you
Mhm.
mind if I put the link up and people come up? Do you mind if I do that?
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't have a
so
problem with that.
people, he gave me the permission. Again, I want to ask. He gave me permission. If y'all want to come up, I'm gonna put the link up. But I got 3 more questions, and then I'll just put it up. All right. So let me just
Ooh,
let me tell you something.
I don't know, Miss Denise. Whew, that statement right there.
Let me tell you.
Ooh,
Hold on. Let me tell
yeah.
you something real quick. So I started to recently, I started recently going after certain individuals who come up with this anti-Latino sentiment, especially some of these FBA people, right? Who
Hmm.
just talk out their ass thinking that they're experts of Latino culture when they're completely not,
I
So
understand.
when we're talking about anti-Latino sentiments, we're talking about the individuals that think that, oh, y'all just want to be white, y'all always click white and just bring these articles up without either reading it, just reading the headline and just leaving it as is. You know what I'm saying? So when I am going after these type of individuals that so happen to be black, I'm deemed as a racist.
Hmm.
In your opinion, do you think that's fair?
Wait, so I'm sorry. Rephrase the question for me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Uh,
I was reading that. I was distracted. I was reading through the comments. That wasn't smart. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Rephrase the question for me.
do you think it's fair to
Mm-hmm.
be deemed as a racist, me myself,
Hmm.
just because I'm checking the anti-Latino sentiments from people that so happen to be black?
I would say no, but once again, you gotta remember, I'm not ADOS FBA. That's a question Kevin C can answer.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's a question that 18th letter, these are ADOS brothers, right? Like
Okay.
that's something for, and I that's why you notice what I'm doing here. I'm careful on answering these things because I think, once again, I if I'm walking in the room and people start asking me questions, I can answer to a certain extent as a black person and as a person who's in a relationship with an ADOS woman.
Yeah. Oh, shout out
But
to you. Okay.
yeah, I'm in a relationship with ADOS women. And by the way, I was thinking like this before I got with her. But so yeah, because people be like, oh, she,
Oh, that's the reason why.
yeah, that's the reason. And she run that. I know she run that. You could ask her, she'll run it. But so, but I'm saying that to say, like, I'm careful because I'm not gonna ask Dominicans about the particulars about Cuba, right?
Okay,
I'm
got
not gonna ask Mexicans about the particulars
it.
about Nicaragua or Chile or any. I'm not gonna do that, right? I'm not gonna ask a Jamaican about the particulars about Bahamas, So I think our society doesn't actually do that with black people. We have this flat blackness that we practice,
Mhm.
right? Unless we try to throw a Nigerian in an ADOS person's face, right? But outside of that, we have this flat blackness that we practice, and when we ask people like me often, but people like me that are biased against ADOS FBA about ADOS FBA, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember one time I was on your channel and me and a brother got into it about this, right? I think he was Afro Latina descent, but he was more on the darker side, and then it was me and we were having this back and forth, and I was like, but you sound the way you do because you ain't Black American. Like you're critiquing Black American culture as a Black American when you're not.
Oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
remember that, like, and I'm saying that as a person who's also not Black American. I'm Black, but I'm not Black American, right?
Yeah.
And I'm asking you to take a step back and understand the bias of a Japanese person critiquing Chinese culture as a Japanese, as an Asian person,
That's the
right?
reason why I made it a point that I won't critique the Black American community
Mhm.
because my community is not better off. So why would I critique it? You know what I'm saying? Like if my backyard is messed up, why would I critique or even give my opinion on how to fix other person's backyard? You know, it doesn't make sense to me. But real quick, so
Mhm.
you said on that stream, and just two more.
Mhm.
You said on that stream that Latinos have never fought against white supremacy,
I
and
said never.
yeah, I believe that's what you said, or maybe I misquoted you.
I,
But
I might have that might have, but by the way, if I did, I don't mean that. That
okay,
was a phrase. That was, one of those figure of speech. I
okay,
don't mean that, but because clearly, like, but here. Let me make this caveat.
okay.
I think we need to call it for what it is. Okay, I'll give you a prime example. Much of what the Arab world is dealing with when it comes to white folks, America, Britain, and whatever, is Western Europe white ideas of what should go on with the resources in their country. It's white domination over the resources in the Middle East,
Mm.
but they think it's religious. Excuse me, could I use profanity here?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Motherfucker, you dumb fucking Muslim. It's not about your fucking religion, right? It's white folks saying, oh, they got some shit we want.
Mm.
It's about resources. Once again, it's about power. It's not about your fucking religion,
Yeah.
right? Now, is there a tinge of that with certain like religious Christian fundamentalists that might be soldiers? Yeah, of course, absolutely, of course. But is that why the U.S. is all in your shit? No.
Mm.
Is that why Britain's all in your shit? No. Right? It don't got shit to do with your fucking religion. Right? This is about power and resource acquisition and resource hoarding. Right? So like I say that to say like this is when we get into the hate conversation, when we get into like it truly doesn't know me. This is like you want to know what grinds my gears? What grinds my gears is like the conversation about hate when it's really about power, resources on a finite planet with finite resources.
Well, you
And
don't
who
you
go
don't
ahead, go ahead.
think that certain either Black Americans or certain immigrant Black people
Mhm.
do have hate for certain other people? You don't think that's a thing?
I know I do think powerless people have hatred too. What I'm saying is the hatred is less of a problem than the power. What does my hate mean if I don't have the power to do anything? If I'm in a straitjacket, what does my hatred of radical Latino mean exactly?
Well, what means outside after you get out of that straitjacket will mean a lot.
No, after, right?
Yeah,
You put a qualifier on there.
yeah.
What, right? What does it mean if I'm in a straitjacket but I hate radical Latino?
No, of course, but
Nothing.
then again, I could say, what would the hate mean for somebody who hates me that lives
Mhm.
500 miles away?
Yeah.
I could say nothing, but once they make the decision to do something about it, again, that could definitely affect me.
It could change. What I'm saying is we can't legislate hate away. That's why I even have an issue with the term hate crime,
Mm,
right? Because understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that people don't hate other people because of race or because of skin tone, because of ethnicity, because of religion. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is oftentimes this is about power, wealth, resources. You live on a planet with finite resources, right? You can control people by controlling the resources, right? You
Of
can
course.
control the way people move, the way people think. You go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course, systematically and
Yeah, that's and so
laws into effect. That's good.
that's what I'm saying. That
I
you
get
can't legislate away hate. You can't legislate away hate.
No,
You
of course.
can mitigate for people enacting their will on other people because of the hate. You see what
Of
that's what
course,
I
no,
was trying to say earlier.
but when people, certain individuals who do say what you say, they don't give it context to it. They just say, "Well, black folks don't got the power to do anything," and then when you really break it down, that they mean
Mhm,
systematically. That's
mhm,
when you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah,
mhm.
well, I understand what you're saying now." You know what I'm saying?
But
So let me just say one thing real quick.
mhm,
Latinos historically have been going, against white supremacy from the very inception. That's the reason why the Spanish don't run it no more. You know what I mean? Now there's lingerings and historical, things that were still there from the Spanish. That's why, i.e., we speak Spanish and all this other stuff, right?
mhm,
So there are things of it there, obviously still lingering. But the reason, and my my proof of that is
mhm,
that's why the Spanish is not there. We became independent for a reason. If we
mhm.
wanted to be white folks, then we would have just been completely happy with like the Spanish and talking about white daddy and all that other stuff,
I
but
mean,
we
you
were
know
we,
what I
we felt some type of way about it. So that's the reason why that we, and then historically here in America we also did a lot of things to fight against white supremacy.
I'm it's gonna get real ugly real fast, Radical. I'm just letting you know. Just buckle up.
Okay.
All of that sound good until it's time to get married.
We mean until the times to get married.
And when it's time to everybody talk about whether they're anti-racist, they don't see color, right, or they fight against white supremacy until it's time to get married,
Well, you
and
do you do
then we
know
see what
you
it
do
really
know
is.
the first biracial people who got married was a Mexican and a
Mhm.
black guy, right?
Yes, yes, I've heard this. I've heard this.
Yeah, yeah,
But what I'm saying, yeah, that sounds nice. But what I'm saying is when it's time to get married, and
yeah,
what I mean by that is, there's a book, and I've covered this, and I'm gonna tie this to what you're saying. By the way, I'm not just going off on a tangent.
yeah,
It's gonna be a tangent, but it's gonna tie back. Um, there was a book written called The Dating Divide. And the one of the authors of the book, um, Dr. Jennifer Lundquist, white woman, fully white, you make white woman. Um, on the interview, she was speaking about how you have women of color who purport to be these kind of, and I'm tying this to the subject matter, by the way, who purport to be these kind of like they don't want labels, they don't want to, they're open to anything, blah blah blah, all of this stuff, and whether they were straight, whether they were like some type of LGBTQ, it didn't matter. Especially remember, most of us now are dating based off of some online type of interactions, mainly dating apps and all that other stuff.
yeah.
Who did all the women of color respond to first, Radical? Just guess.
About dating.
Yeah. So if you line up a bunch of different dudes and they all go at a chick online, who did the women respond to first? Just guess.
Online, they responded to the white guy.
Every single race of women.
Mm,
Thank you. Guess what? Not the men.
mm,
Why am I bringing that up in what you're saying?
yeah,
Because it matters. This is what I'm saying. So we all say, we're kumbaya, we are the world, we don't see color, or we don't have this hierarchy. But when it's time to get married, everybody know where the money is.
mm,
Everybody know what white skin mean in this society,
yeah.
right? Particularly the women. And by the way, ladies, I'm not trying to bash women for y'all choices and preferences and whatever. What I'm saying, we know where the money and the status is, even if this white dude don't got no money.
Technically,
Tying that to the whole racial hierarchy. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
we want to be real. Technically,
Mhm.
women biologically always go for the person with the highest status, correct? So
Yeah, no, no, and I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
So we know what this is. Yeah, yeah, that's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
know what this is.
So it's not far fetched for you to bring that stat up, because I'm like, okay, that makes a little sense on as why they would do so. But let me just finish my last question, and then I'm
Hmm.
gonna let the people from backstage come in. I got
Hmm.
Rock, Kim, Kevin C, and somebody just came in and they just left. Okay,
Hmm.
I'll just give me just 1 minute, guys. All right,
Hmm.
so you criticized Denise's point that I agreed with, talking about
Hmm.
it's dangerous to be white, right? and you,
Hmm.
and you broke it down to the point where you go like, what do you mean it's dangerous to be white? That doesn't make sense. It's dangerous to be black, and white people, actually I do agree with you on this part. a white person is completely safe walking around in the hood. You are 100% right on that. They
bruh. And
in,
and
in
and
the hood, people would literally harm another black person or Latino way faster.
and there's another side to that, Radical.
Uh huh.
There's another side to that. How many black people? You remember Chris Rock documented this. Chris Rock was living in his neighborhood for how long in New Jersey?
For
Driving a nice car, and they kept on stopping Chris freaking Rock.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
what I'm saying is, even though this is a world famous known comedian, you can't tell me y'all don't know. Hey, by the way, the black G, I'm just making up a random car. The black G wagon with this type of tag, that's Chris Rock. Stop. Let's stop. You no, you're sending a message. So my point, the point I'm saying is, even a black person that everybody know Chris Rock, it ain't no, is not doing anything illegal. This dude ain't. It would have been turned up. Chris Rock been famous for 30 years. You see what I'm saying? I'm using that to say, so we know that a white person wouldn't be harmed in the hood,
yeah,
even a white crackhead. But you flip on the other side, and black successful people, square black people, not no hood black person, not no super tatted, super dread, and even that would be wrong. What I'm saying is, people that we consider respectable, right? Even in these white, they've elevated themselves in to the height to be in these spaces, and even in those spaces they're reminded of their blackness.
yeah. Well,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah, no, I feel you. I gave an
And
example.
we say, and then we're saying it's dangerous to be white, like,
Well,
and I said this too, if it was dangerous to be right, remember, and I'm gonna shut up 20
yeah,
seconds,
yeah,
even on the hate crime statistics, right? And like, even on hate crime, it's still majority white folk, because obviously the nation's majority white.
yeah,
Harming, it's still majority black people being harmed in hate crimes. Even in the height of COVID, with the Asian crime, with the when the Asian crime bill was happening, black people were still being harmed by other people, mainly white folks, more than Asians. This is what I'm saying. So like, when we say it's dangerous to be white, like, systemically it's not, and even individually it's not.
yeah, yeah.
That was my whole point, and I'll pause right there. Just
Well,
because a couple of misguided black college educated black women are attempting to shame white men for what we deem as no reason, doesn't mean it's a danger to be white. Just because y'all got videos of some loud ass black woman pointing at some white dude asking him why he growing dreads, it doesn't mean that it's
well,
a danger to be white. And I'll shut up.
yeah. The example I gave was
Hmm.
the whole power example, meaning
Hmm.
black folks could say black power, nobody bats an eye. Latin people could say brown pride, brown power, nobody cares. When
Yeah.
white folks say white power, that's when everybody goes crazy. It's understandable why people will go crazy. Historically, white people didn't make it good for themselves. Whenever somebody did say white power, you know what I'm saying? Now, white people can still do that white power thing.
Yeah.
It has to go under ethnicity. They got to go.
I remember when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Italian power and all this other stuff. But we also have to see that there is certain things that white people are being shunned away from. And I believe, for the white folks that don't have hate in their heart, that's a little unfair. And I believe that's what she was referring to when it came to that. For an example, when affirmative action was a thing in colleges, white
Mhm.
folks were getting turned away due to that fact.
That's a fact. That's factually inaccurate. The
Well,
number one beneficiary of affirmative action in America are white women.
okay. Well, again, they
By far, by the way, Radical. By the way, I'm not making that up.
okay.
Anyone can look it up. Miss Denise can look that up. The number one beneficiary of affirmative action has been white women.
What I'm saying is them white dudes were feeling some type of way. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And again, with and then it became Asian guys feeling some type of way because now it was being overrun with Asians, and then Asians are like, "Yo, this affirmative action isn't benefiting me whatsoever." We got to see what's going on, blah, 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 and even certain jobs were turning away white people due to the fact that those jobs were including like, LGBT affirmative type of, way. So
white gay men and white women.
well, I'm sorry, what?
White gay men and white women. When the number one affirmative action program in colleges and universities are legacy. Asians punched down with the whole affirmative action thing. and it wasn't even the majority. And you have a certain type of Asian who really, and there was actually, they really did a study on this. Out of 120,000 seats, Asians are about to gain 3,000. Big whoop-de-doo. Because it's not about, it was never really about, first of all, you gotta remember,
So
when
let
you
me,
come out of
let me
the
ask
Baki, I'm
you
gonna shut up in
this.
20
Let me
seconds because this is
let me well,
go
hold on.
ahead.
Let me ask
Mhm,
you. So the two states that never had affirmative action from the beginning, and they
mhm,
actually put it down and say, "Yo, we're not going by this," was
mhm.
California and Michigan. Those are the
Yeah.
two states, and we have evidence and documented numbers
Mhm,
that the blacks and Latinos were the only one affected by this,
mhm.
by not having non-affirmative action there. So
Yeah.
so again, how if white women are the only beneficiaries on that, then that means it would have been white
I
women.
didn't say only. I never said only. I never said only. If you listen to me, I never said only.
So the
The,
majority.
the primary beneficiaries of
From
affirmative action have been white women by some, I think they said something like 80 some odd percent.
white women weren't the ones in those stats. It was black people and Latinos.
Mhm, mhm. Um, but once again, white women have been the number one beneficiaries of affirmative action. Number one. Number two, legacy admissions. That's where you really want to go. Number three, there's another way in. The college school scandal showed you the whole loophole that they use. Buy off a certain coach at a university. Have him tell the people, hey, my um his daughter is over here doing some type of swimming crap, and then get him in that way. So this is the thing. So like when we talk, and Miss Denise is in the comments, she said socially it's dangerous to be white. But what does that mean socially,
I don't know.
right?
She has to,
I,
has to
yeah,
explain.
yeah. I would ask her if she comes up. I ask her like, because once again, you know, I okay, it's off-putting. It may be annoying. Some loud ass entitled black person in college, pointing at the hipster white dude and asking him why he's growing dreads, right? Okay, cool, but that's not dangerous. You see what I'm saying? And I think what ends up happening is like we put that on the level of like what black people are going through. Like, no, okay, yeah, white people are, certain black people and even certain other people of color are like annoying, in certain environments, right? And they emphasize this kind of racial hierarchy in certain environments. But that's not, it's not dangerous to be a white person,
Mm,
right? And that's why I brought up like hate crime. Hate crime shows you who's really in danger in America.
yeah.
It's not just about what's inconvenient and some annoying ass person on a bus that you have to be on for the next 30 minutes calling you excuse my language, a cracker, right? That's not the same as like what the hell what we're talking about. And I think when you conflate the two, that's what's dangerous. Because what you're saying is somebody's hurt, bruised ego or somebody's feelings, right, is on the same level as another person and their ability to move in spaces that give them systemic power, right? And it's just not the same. Your bruised ego or the fact that you have to sit next to some black person calling you cracker for the next 20 minutes is not the same as you being able to go to work and then take grandma's house because she's black and because she's down one payment, and maybe the white grandma would have had some type of leeway and some type of program
Mm,
offered to her. It's not the same,
gotcha.
you know?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Pause.
Gotcha. All right, I'm gonna bring the people in the back end. I got Rakim, Kevin C, and Jose. So one by one, Rakim, go first. Tell me what you thought about the discussion. What do you agree? What you disagree? What's up?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what the brother Mr. C was saying. I'm surprised Denise didn't come up here. Denise, don't get cold feet now. You able to argue your talking point?
Nah,
No,
leave her alone. Let her do her thing. Go ahead, man.
She wants to come up.
but,
She can come up. It's fine.
first and foremost, I would like to say I definitely disagree. Like as far as what you were saying, as far as when it comes to race, as far as in Latin America or whatever, and not just with Latin America. I'm just practically bracing it on my experience of being over in this space. I started out in this space, and some of the nastiest comments I've seen, the hierarchical type of comments, the elitist, racist type of comments, different things like that. I'm not saying black people can't be bigoted and all of that, but even the ideas of people talking about mestizaje, and when you look at what the Spanish did, the Spanish had a different way of attacking on trying to get rid of the black population versus the British. The British want to completely
Mm,
segregate and separate. The Spanish wanted to mix them out, to breed them out. That's why you get the Peninsulares. Am I correct? The Peninsulares, the Criollos, then the Mestizos, then the Mulattoes.
Right.
Okay, so like different things like that. So, and that's constantly blatant because based off of what I hear, this is only what I hear. But from what I hear, it's also
now I'm laughing because Radical Latino got it ready. Go ahead. I'm sorry. 18. Go ahead.
People can blatantly. It was never no any rules or any laws on discrimination. So even though people are lighter in their family or dark in their family, they can blatantly disrespect people and blatantly be racist towards people, and you just got to take it over in certain countries, which explains a lot. That's why people come here and they think they can blatantly disrespect and talk down to black people here. So and black people ain't going for that shit at all. But that really
nobody should go for any disrespect, you know.
No, I don't think so at all. Like I said before, I don't agree.
Yeah.
I've never agreed with people within the FBA talking down, calling people. But I've seen people get butthurt getting called the tether when they sitting over here calling people chongos and mayates.
Yeah.
So like I don't understand.
I agree with 18th on this.
Yeah.
I agree with 18th on this.
People don't even know what a tether comes from the movie Us, and that's mostly directed towards West Indians and Africans. Not even really Hispanics or anything like that.
No, don't say that, because I was called a tether for all these other times.
They call immigrants. They say that in general about
exactly.
Yeah, but he said but primarily though. Like Radical, like there's a distinction between when we say primarily or and like Radical be hearing only. Right, so like we ain't saying only, right?
No, it's true.
And here's the thing, Rad, because I know you don't you dislike FBA, and I got my discrepancies and all of that other stuff, but FBA doesn't just go at Hispanics. They're going at majority of immigrant people that come here to the United States and decide that they're going to try to shit on black people by siding with white supremacists for a little bit of trinkets and crumbs. And we get it. You coming from, but when people sit here and try to say things, oh, our culture this and our culture that, if you was that great and you was that much of a great people, you would have you would have been able to make it in your homeland. All of the things that people say for black people to apply here, how come they couldn't apply it there? If it's really that simple. The fact is, people don't care. People just want to say that to boost their ego and make themselves feel like they better than something than what they actually are. And
I think we have, and I'm sorry, 18. I gotta cut you off because I gotta address Miss Denise. All of this simply because we were talking about Nick Fuentes, racist Fuentes, saying the
Hey, bro, you got cut off, bro.
Oh, my apologies. If I was just reading
Well,
Denise's comment. Let me
highlight it.
Okay.
All of
And
this
I just
because we were
go
talking about Nick Fuentes saying the N-word and being blessed with a loss of twerked by AAs. Okay.
I think and we're gonna go real heavy with this. It's something about Western society, particularly America, with pathologizing black behavior and wanting to come down and discipline black people. What do I mean by that? We look at black people that might be dysfunctional, black people that are acting inappropriately, and then we judge the entire group by that, as comparison to other groups who have similar activities. They do wild stuff, but we understand, that's some young white dude, or that's a drunk ass Latina, or right. We understand how to differentiate and separate. When it comes to black people, we see this young lady, and I know exactly what moment she's talking about, the lady in the blue that was sitting next to Nick Fuentes. I understand. We see that, and then we say, like Ms. Denise said, all of this because of this situation. We understand, and by the way, I made a video going at those women. Right, I made a video speaking about how inappropriate they were acting while they were in the face of a known. If you want to talk white supremacist, like because he didn't have the inward Tourette's, they don't really understand. They're in the face of like Jim Crow Jr. Right? They're they're sitting in his face. So what I'm saying to Miss Denise is, I don't judge the Latino community off of who the hell killed Che Guevara, right? I don't judge the Latino community off of like it's not always about saying these people like you're not managing these people first. Let's be very clear. When you have a community of 40 million plus people and then you have a white superstructure that promotes certain behaviors, particularly negative behaviors, it's very difficult to discipline people. It's very difficult to tell people, hey, you acting wrong, because there's always white money backing that behavior. There's always I said it on my video, like the white, by the way, I don't know if y'all ever know that like white US banks got caught dealing with drug cartels in Latin America. I'm not making that up. Right? So it's real hard for the Latino, whatever government in whatever country, to deal with these drug dealers when US billion-dollar banks with billions of dollars of market cap are funding or helping to launder money for drug cartels in whatever Latin American country. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. So like when you bring up this young lady that first of all is trying to get into the entertainment business and try to make like some type of name for herself and seeing this as a time to be infamous. If I'm not gonna be famous, I'm gonna be infamous and I'm gonna twerk on a known white supremacist, and then you say, oh, all of this because of this situation. Like, yes, because you're judging us based off of like the least of us, and it's being disingenuous. You're being anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna move it on to Kevin C. Kevin C, tell me what you think. Do you agree, disagree? What did you hear that you liked, that you didn't like? Go on.
So I missed the first half of it, but I caught the second half of it, and it was actually a pretty good conversation. No major disagreements. And just for a little bit of homework, I actually went back and looked at Mr. Z's original video. All you got to do is listen to the first 30 minutes, and I don't have any disagreement with what he said. So everything that he said basically in the first 30 minutes or so was completely correct. In addition to now that Denise has in the chat defined that she meant social danger versus physical danger, then they're in social danger, but so what? What's social danger versus somebody with the ability to actually harm you?
Break that down with social danger, because I'm confused still.
Social danger is basically, you say something, basically you get canceled. That's it. If that's all racism was, black people would laugh at that. That's not what it is to us.
I'm laughing now.
It's real danger, like lose your life type danger. Like you getting taken out by a police officer with extreme malice with your hands up while you have no weapon on you because he's mistaken your cell phone for a gun. But see, that's the kind of danger we're in. And understand, there's a lot of things at play there. You got his bias. He might be hardcore racist, and then you got a bunch of stereotypes that are put on black men. All that leading up to that incident where basically you have that encounter where it could actually cost you your life. That's real
exactly.
Don't you think that black people, due to the fact of cancellation, don't you think black people actually have a lot more power than they actually realize?
No, absolutely not. Because if we did, then we wouldn't have to worry about the physical danger we're talking about.
You guys,
let's go over canceled. What does it mean to be shamed on the internet?
Nothing.
No, wait.
You see what I'm saying?
Wait. People's jobs. And
you should let's be very clear. Like,
you guys are literally firing people.
But wait, no, we're not firing people. Understand what's going on when we talk about this, right? And we're assuming that this is what Miss Denise means. You say or do something clearly anti-black. Some black person takes a picture of you or makes a comment on social media. Your employer sees that. Your employer says, I no longer want to be associated with this person if this is their views. And that not only is it their views, they've made their views public, or their actions are now public, right? They've said something. I can't give them space for I can't be plausible. I don't have space for plausible deniability. And so the employer separates from you. Now, you deserve that. First of all, you don't have the discipline to watch what the hell you're doing in public, right? Number one. Number two, what's wrong with knowing decorum?
No, there's nothing.
What's wrong with knowing I shouldn't say this in this space?
But that is power. The fact that it goes viral.
That's not power.
Black folks
Go ahead.
are
And that's not even black people actually doing it.
Yes, that's where I'm going, Kevin. That's where I'm going.
That's an employer being ashamed to be associated with somebody. If we actually had the power to fire somebody, then it wouldn't happen in the first place.
Kevin, hold on. Black folks gathering this person's information and calling their employer and making them aware of it. That's power, dude.
That's influence. That's not power.
That's still
That's not power. Power is the person who fired that person.
Yeah, power would be I can
That's
fire him
the
myself.
power.
I can make a phone call and that dude loses his job.
Okay. Here's the difference. Wait. No. Let me say this.
Okay.
Meek Mills is out of prison. Why is Meek Mill out of prison?
Because he served his time.
No. Because Jay-Z made a phone call to Robert Kraft. Kraft is the one with power, not Jay-Z. Everybody keep on giving it to Jay-Z. It's not Jay-Z. He has influence. He knows who to call. He don't got the power because he didn't call the judge. Kraft did. You see what I'm saying? That's the power. So if I put out there, hey, Radical said this about black people, that don't mean I have power. I have influence, right?
But Kraft would have never done that phone call, even though him knowing the situation, he would have never made that phone call if it wasn't for Jay-Z.
But that's influence. That's not power. No.
That means he influenced his decision. He influenced the person with power to make the decision to release Meek Mill. That's what that
means. If Jay-Z had power, he would have been the one to call the judge. You see what I'm saying? Or if Jay-Z really had power, he would have damn near walked to the prison and let Meek go himself. Jay-Z has influence. He influenced Kraft. He got in his ear. The power is the person that pulls the strings. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
So you guys are saying that black people online got influence to get people fired.
Depending on how egregious did you do something, and it still depends on the egregiousness. By the way, I'm still mitigating by saying it all depends.
Here's the thing, Radical. When you're talking about people that are in power, what does people in power don't want you to fuck with the most?
Their money.
Exactly. It's bad for business.
Yeah.
Though I may feel the same way that you feel, I may not like these people either. But guess what? The money is green.
Yeah,
money ain't money, and that's exactly what they're saying. So if I show you got somebody that's being blatantly racist to me that's working in your establishment or working with your 500 company, I'm not going to spend a damn dollar. Not only am I not going to spend a dollar, I'm going to tell all my people to not spend a fucking dollar with you or your establishment. Guess what? Wow, you know what? Yo, you gotta go. They may argue behind the scenes. Like, we were just talking about this today.
All right. Wait, guys, hold on. Give me a minute because I got people in the back. I got Big Kev in the back and Don Armando. Give me 1 minute. I want Jose to go, and then I'm gonna bring Big Kev and Don in.
Could I go after Jose? I wanted to say something after.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Jose, say what you gotta say.
Well, first of all, thank you, Larry, on the platform. I think I found the interchange to be interesting. Okay, I'm going to reserve my comment regarding what Mr. Z said. I want to hear it again because I want to make sure I have a full understanding. Now, this is what I'm going to give you my 2 cents, which is. I find it very odd that whenever we talking about members of the African American community who has said anti-racist stuff regarding Latinos, when we bring it up to their attention, that issue, automatically talking about the racist Latinos. Okay, are they racist Latinos? Yes, they definitely are. Okay, all of us racist? No. But one thing people need to bear in mind, the differences between Latinos that were born in the Caribbean compared to Latinos that were born in Central and South America. Okay. Now, there are members of the African American community that are calling out these people for their stupidity. Okay. They are. I'm not going to deny it. I know Rakim has called out the stupidity on many occasions. Okay, when I have this issue is that whenever we express an opinion, we are told we don't have the right to express an opinion. Now, I think when everything is said and done, whatever issues that's in the African American community, they're going to have to resolve it because they're the ones that are most affected by those issues.
Which we have been doing, Jose. We don't ask for anybody's help when it comes to resolving our own issues. We haven't. Black Americans mostly, and I'll throw Mr. Z in there. But Black Americans mostly have stood on our own. We're like when Radical talked about the situation. When Radical talked about, like, for instance, I disagree, Rad, when you said, what are y'all going to do about it? Black people are the only people in this fucking country that got a history on doing anything about anything. Most people, apart from the Lolita LeBrons and the Cesar Chavez and the Cha-Cha Jimenez, those are the only three I can name off top. But a lot of those, once the Black Panthers got neutralized and a lot of shit and people started getting killed, they got out the way. Not saying Lolita LeBron because I don't know.
There's something to be. We have to. I would look at ADOS FBA as saying, yes, you can help if you want to be part. If you want to be part of the struggle. If not, then please don't be a hindrance, right? Don't get in the way. And I think people like the hierarchy, so they're in the way. They don't like to be told they're in the way. They don't like to be told they're a hindrance. They don't like to be told, like, hey, you kind of being the foot soldier for the white racist folks. They don't like to be told that, but they're in the way, and many people are in the way knowingly. Now, so the comment that I wanted to make, after Jose was speaking, look, there was a point when Richard Spencer was kind of known. Richard Sherman, the football player. When Richard Sherman was kind of like his name was blazing, it was everywhere. It was him in beast mode, right? And there was a point where he was called a thug out of nowhere, and even white folks was like, "Wait a minute, why y'all calling him a thug? What did he do?" Right? And he was just called a thug because of the way he speaks, because of the dreads, and he was called a thug. And this is like a brother that went to Stanford, right? Now, because he was a mouthy black person. He was a mouthy black man with dreads, so he was called a thug. We have to be careful on who we call stupid and why we call them stupid, particularly black people. So this is where we get into the dog whistle racism. This is where all the lefties are blowing their mind right now because they understand where Mr. Z is going, right? We don't call black people the N-word like that no more with the hard ER when we try to insult them. We call them dumb for no reason. We call them stupid for no reason. Somehow crime and thuggery gets bought up, right? When this person doesn't have a criminal record, he's in his mid-30s. I'm talking about me now. In his mid-30s, in a serious relationship, worked for 2 cities, doesn't have a criminal record, right? Has worked for the Democratic Party, like clean as a whistle. And somehow thug gets brought into the conversation. Somehow stupidity gets brought into the conversation. For what? You see what I'm saying? Just call me. Hey, wait, 18. Stop being excuse my language. Stop being a fucking coward and come up here and call me a nigga to my face then. Because that's what you really mean. And I don't give a fuck if you married to a black person or not. Tell that nigga he can run up too. Stop being a coward, and I'm saying that to you and to the other Negroes co-signing you. Stop being a coward and come up and call me a nigga to my face. And let's see if Mr. Z don't buy you a plane ticket so you could see what happened when you come and say it to my face.
Okay. Cool.
In real life.
And I got a quick question, Rad. I just wanted to ask you something.
Wait, real quick. Write it down. Just give me 1 minute, real quick. Big Kev, what's going on? You're in the panel. What do you got to say about this? About the conversation that me and Mr. Z are having or had?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. And shout out to Mr. Z and whatnot, and thank you for having me up on the panel. Again, this is one of those things where it's very interesting because as people pointed out, I mean, like when people do have these like Latino sentiments, they do get called out, but as some people have pointed out, it's like the reverse doesn't happen as often. And I think that's why people kind of sometimes give people such as yourself, Radical, like the side eye when you say like, hey, I don't really agree with that stuff like that, because it's like, how far do people really go? Really, you know what I mean? Like, how far do people really go to say, hey, like, hey, I don't know why y'all beefing with them. They're like, if they're not bothering you, why are you talking shit about so-called black people if they're not actually beefing with you for the most part? So, you know what I mean? I think that's what people are pointed out. It's like, it's not that these things, these like anti-Latino sentiments don't get called out. It's just that when the reverse happens, it doesn't get called out as much as it should. You know?
Got you. Got it.
Yeah, because like for example, like if you look at that whole fiasco, and I know that he's faces criticism then, but look at that whole fiasco at Austin Hollerman in Brazil. I mean, you had a whole Brazilian feminist woman married to a white American man trying to accuse him of like being like sexual, indirectly accused him of being a sexual abuser using dog whistle language.
Yeah.
And people didn't come down harder on her and say, hey, stop talking shit about him. He's minding his business. What the hell are you talking about? No, they tried to side with her, just simply because she was a Brazilian, and they didn't realize, like, no, like
there was a lot of passport bros that actually sided with her too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's what we mean by that shit. Like, the only real reason why she had a problem with him is because he wasn't a white man traveling. But he wasn't doing anything egregious. She just had a problem with him because he wasn't white.
Got it.
And that's what really when people talk about the hatred of so-called passport bros, like, they have a problem with these British because they're not both super rich and white. It's not because they're exploiting people. It's because they're not rich.
How dare you try to do what the white man does? You Negro,
Exactly.
stay in your lane.
Exactly. Exactly. And people don't.
You ain't white, daddy.
Exactly. And people don't come down hard on them and tell these critics to basically, pardon my French, shut the fuck up and mind your fucking business. And as long as they're minding their business and not doing anything, who the fuck are you to tell them what they should or should be doing? Especially if they're respecting your culture. Like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, don't be rude to our guests. You know what I mean? That type of sentiment.
Okay. I see your point, and I see what you're saying. I agree with that. Don Armando, what's going on, bro? What you got to say about this?
I could say it was a good conversation and everything like that. But also, one thing that I do agree with Kay and the other gentleman on the panel is that between African Americans and Latinos, we both have hypocrisies that we need to address.
True. Yeah.
So with that said, there's a lot of hypocrisy that even me as an Afro-Dominican, I've seen it throughout my lifetime. So with that said, we need to just what we need to do is just to address the hypocrisy and address the fakeness that we actually have within our community. If we don't do that, that's what's going to destroy our movements. And I'm seeing that right now.
That's true.
I'm not saying within the panel, but I'm seeing that as far as Latino media, African American media, and the way that we actually communicate with each other.
Yeah. Okay, I agree to that. Just Jules, what's going on? Tell me what you think about this.
Just Jules, if you don't mind, let me just say this real quick. I'll move out your way in 60 seconds. Remember what I also said on both videos, Radical. We are people on the bottom. This affirmative action thing also hit Latinos too, right? It was symbolically, not because it's not like Black and Latino people are really benefiting from it for real like that, but symbolically what it represents, right? It also hit Latinos too. This is to maintain the hierarchy, number one, and as group of people on the bottom. I want to say this to your audience real quick. Austerity measures are real, and the uber wealthy are going to take every last penny that they about to turn all of us over symbolically and shake you out of any change in your wallet, right? Excuse me, they already done picked your wallet. Now they trying to get all the change that's stuck on the bottom of your pants pocket. Excuse me. And why I'm bringing that up is to say they're going to encourage the fighting of people on the bottom because they need you to point at other people on the bottom for why you're on the bottom. They're going to throw crumbs out and watch you scramble and fight other people on the bottom instead of going after them, which is, by the way, what we've been doing for the past 40 plus years. So I'm saying this to Black people and Latino people, but particularly to Latino people, for some reason it seems like they don't get it. You're going to be encouraged to fight Black people because you're too cowardly to go after the primarily white folks hoarding the wealth. You're gonna be encouraged to, air quotes, start your own business. By the way, I'm not saying starting your own business is a bad thing. I'm saying that's gonna be the excuse on why you don't got nothing. You're gonna be told it's because you move wrong, it's because you speak wrong, it's because you don't have the right comportment, it's because you don't, all of these things. And once again, emphasizing, you're going to be encouraged to point and fight at other people on the bottom. And I'll pause right there.
Wait, because I had Judge Jules come in. Judge Jules, give me your opinion.
Yeah, I'm glad that you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, yeah, I'm glad that you guys had a conversation, because it's an interesting future we're going to see with how people of African extract and people of Latin extract are going to have to federate in this country, because Black folks and white folks have a federation. It's not the ideal, but it does exist, and it exists differently in different locations, right? Milwaukee is going to be different than North Carolina, than Miami, but you have to realize that America has gone from being a country that was 90% white, 10% Black, and then you had Latin people, particularly from northern Mexico, coming across the border through the 60s, to now it's almost 20% immigrants of various extract, right? And that's not just Latin folks. A lot of them are. There's a lot of Asians, South Asians, Southeast Asians, Northeast Asians, right? And then you have people from the continent, people from the Caribbean. You have a lot of different things going on all at once. But the two biggest groups in second and third, as far as demographics, are going to be African Americans and Latins of various national origin. And it's going to be different because you're going to have to deal with people who are Puerto Rican, Honduran, El Salvadoran, Colombian, and it's going to have different impact.
Yeah.
How are these folks going to either form temporary alliances or long-term alliances, or how are they going to deal with each other when they're not actually working towards a goal? How can you be in a respectful relationship where both parties get something out of it and maybe have to sacrifice something out of it?
Just Jules, I need to say this too. When I'm part of the Black manosphere. I don't think y'all understand what that mean. Y'all think that we just rail against women all day. People over here bringing up the bricks like we haven't been talking about the bricks for like how long now in the Black man. I'm like, bro, like you think you saying something, bro? You think I'm reading the comment like, bro, what decade are you in, bro? Wait a minute.
Wasn't we talking about the bricks years ago? Like Jesus Christ.
Hey, I'm just that doesn't. Mr. Z is not claiming to know everything. I'm not claiming that we all know everything. What I'm saying is, when you're so adamant about insulting someone's intelligence and what they don't know, right? That you assume that the and I'm not making any assumptions of, especially like that's why I said earlier, like I assume that obviously Radical and Miss Denise know more than me about Latino culture, like duh, right? But once again, like, and you're saying it, I'm Haitian descent, so why wouldn't I know about the BRICS? Why wouldn't I know about Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa? Why wouldn't I know about them? First. Secondly, I've been talking about them for years. I'm almost certain I have videos. Excuse me, not videos. I've been on panels in the Black Manosphere going back 4 or 5 years talking about them.
Wait. What's the BRICS? What's that?
The BRICS are they're a challenge to NATO and the Western powers. Got it. Right? Yeah.
It's an economic alliance.
Yeah. And like and people are just now like really talking about them over the past year, and like all of a sudden people act like they've been no. Like you could go on panels, BGS or whoever panel, and you'll hear Mr. Z talking about the BRICS from like 4 years ago. Please spare me.
Not only that, if you've been paying attention, there's other countries that actually want to join BRICS.
Thank you.
About 30 countries want to join the BRICS.
Yeah, and it is a way to get from under the thumb of the Western European powers. This is actually the global South saying, "All right, we're done being exploited." Yeah. But people assume that you don't know, so of course.
I just wanted to ask a couple.
Fuck out of here.
Wait, first and foremost, like Denise, you're tone deaf when it comes to a lot of subjects. You're not as bright as you think you are, but I'm gonna leave it at that because you made a comment earlier talk about ask white people to go to O Block in 64th. I lived on 68th and Crandon. You take 67th Street down all the way to King Drive, bust a right, you on 64th Street. It's white people on O Block touring that King Von mural all the time that are in those housing developments right over in O Block.
She don't know, bro. That's that weird conservative talk. That's that that's that weird we're not safe. We're bruh.
And I just wanted to say this really quick.
What about black on black crime? Go ahead. I'm sorry, 18th.
Like when you look at like as far as anything, like I said, black people have always included Hispanic people within a lot of things, especially in entertainment, from movies to television sitcoms, everything else. When if white supremacy wasn't a factor and all of this stuff, you would see more Hispanic people in some of those telenovelas where it's not just mostly European looking Hispanic people. It was black people. They had a spot over in the Black Panther after everybody cried and complained about where was Latin representation after they saw black people get a movie with the Black Panther where they put the
wait 18th, wait a minute. Was that a black man that was the director of Black Panther?
I believe so, if I'm not
okay,
mistaken.
Ryan Coogler, right?
Yeah,
and Ryan Coogler, he didn't pick a white man to be Namor. He picked who?
A native. He picked somebody that
was Spanish-speaking native.
And
that's a black man putting lands on. I'm just saying.
Argued about that. They was upset about that.
They were upset a black man put an indigenous man on.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
Another thing too, because Rad, you said you was for. I thought you was for brown and mixed unity now, not brown and not brown and black. But with that being said, we have definitely, like, we're not this whole idea of people that think white supremacy don't exist because you put up that little thing with to show the FBA, the ADOS, and white supremacy and all of that. You had a hard time within the last 3 years arguing with your own people about if white supremacy exists, because it's been common knowledge that a lot of Hispanics say, well, we're just going to work and keep our head down. That means you're going to be a target to be exploited, and you're going to be subjected to have whatever done to you by no means. You've even had cops already saying, and don't quote me on this because I can't find a direct article, but they're recorded just target Hispanics. They're not going to do nothing. They've already said that. I've already told you had an incident over in Arizona where this white man slapped this Hispanic lady in the face. And when the Hispanic man asked him why he did that over the contract, he said, "I did this because of this reason. Don't you dare get in my face and question us."
I think I heard this one. Yeah.
It couldn't be us, but.
But by the way, I just want to ask the panel real quick.
Let me correct you on a couple of things. I am still for black and brown unity. I don't know why you think I'm for just Latino now mixed unity. I don't know why you think that, but no.
Well, you said it. You said that you was more on an individual level, but you was gearing more towards
the black and brown unity is not what I thought it was. It's mostly in the individual level. I'm starting to see that. That's what I said. Because there's a lot of black people that don't want unity, and there's a lot of Latinos that don't want unity. And I said that I'm starting to see that I thought it was more of a collective, which I was wrong. It's more of an individual level. And I said that privately, and I even said that publicly. That's one. Two, yeah, you're right. I started to talk to even my own people about white supremacy. But guess what? The funny thing is, black folks are starting to become the arm of white supremacy. So we both have the same issue.
All right, so I gotta say something.
Can you explain that a little bit further? Black people as the arm of white supremacy? Because
you really want to explain how FBA is not the arm of white supremacy?
You're talking about FBA, an online group. Yes, these people are not walking around calling people tethers. They're not going around gunning down.
All of these people are black Americans. Like FBA, Secure the Tribe, Freeman, B1, ADOS. They're all an online group.
Okay, so and that's fine. And we all agree that's wrong, right? That we don't.
Let me talk.
No, we don't condone none of that.
Wait. Let me talk. Now, because they are being the arm of white supremacy, and I also have told my people that they've been a part of the arm of white supremacy. We both have the same issue, and we both know that that's wrong. So what's the point of bringing that up?
All right, but man, I
The
say
thing is,
this.
a lot of people,
because I wanted to.
a lot of these, Mr. Z, please
Mhm.
hold on.
Go
A
ahead.
lot
I
of
got
groups,
you. Go ahead.
God, a lot of groups have a lot of ideas, and a lot of these ideas are moving offline, right? But a lot of
Mhm.
these ideas are online, and it's good that these discussions are being had online, because people need to learn how to creatively solve problems. That's within the group, that's between two groups, and they need to figure out what are certain solutions we can have. It doesn't mean everything's going to work out. It doesn't mean there's going to be some pan unity between all groups, African, Asian, Latin, European. It means in your cohort, in your town, in your county, in your state, there might be understandings of how things are going to work on those levels of governance, economic, or even like just social customs. And then you can figure out how to move from there. Whether that means like you're forming friendships, or you're forming business relationships, or you're forming political relationships. It's very simple nation building. And that's the thing about America, is that the nation has not stopped being built. And that means
Yeah.
everyone gets a say. And you have to talk through all of these things. Obviously, that's part of the First Amendment. And the First Amendment is backed up by the Second Amendment. Hopefully, everything gets resolved with the first, which is speech. But if it doesn't, then it goes to the second. And we've already had that happen here several times.
Yep.
So just these conversations are a good thing in their own nature. Outside of that, you don't want to get it to the second portion.
Yeah.
So I wanted to earlier I wanted to say this. Look, you know, let me see where is this what first my question to the panel that was gonna be, what year are we in right now?
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah,
2023,
yeah,
right?
2023.
All right, and people started first hearing about the BRICS in what, 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that. So you mean 13 years later? So
All
when I
right, so
say we've been talking about it for 5 or so years,
let me
that's because
explain.
I let myself be known in the Black manosphere, what, about 3-4 years ago.
All right,
So
I'm gonna tell you something. All right.
go ahead.
I went up and I first heard about bricks when it was like around 207, 208.
Hmm.
Because there used to be a channel, I forgot what it was called. It was like I guess the IFC or something like that. This is when I used to live in Jersey. So therefore they were talking about bricks. Then I guess years later or whatsoever, they were talking about the Belt and Road Initiative
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
the Silk Road Initiative. That's what China was trying to do with all
Yep.
the other
Yep.
nations that are
The new
actually.
Silk Road. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So my thing is though is that now that everybody's talking about bricks and everything like that, we've been knowing about bricks because every maybe 3 or 4 years they always had a bricks meeting. I remember
Yep.
even before COVID they were actually talking about the bricks meeting
Hmm.
because in the direct TV channel that I had, it had CGTN, which used to be CCTV,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Yeah. The
Chinese
Chinese.
content
Hmm.
television.
Hmm.
So with that said, there's certain people who are just now talking about bricks and everything like that, but then there's certain people like you and I that's been hit to the idea of bricks and everything like that, and other people who actually be in the UN talk about bricks. But the rest of the American populace, you know, I
Hey,
could say
brother, I
this.
don't know what you're talking about because I just heard of Tesla, and that means Tesla just came out.
Hmm.
Hey, I just heard. Hey, Tesla. I just heard of Tesla. That means Tesla just came out, right? Y'all niggas
No,
late. Shit. If I just heard, y'all niggas late. Y'all should have heard about it the same time I heard about it, all of 2 minutes ago. Get out of here. But by the way, I'm being funny. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just being funny with the people in the comments.
One of the big
Fuck
things
that.
about one of
Yeah,
the big things
so,
people need to realize is like the BRICS is an alliance of nations. One, people should understand that Brazil could be a useful part of it, but there are roughly 200 million people of African descent on the Western Hemisphere, right? And there's about 1 billion people of Latin extract on the Western Hemisphere. The BRICS is, if you look at the globe, most maps depict everything as like at the 0 point axis, so everything looks straight up. North America, South America, and then on the right hand side of the map, it's Western Europe, and then Africa, and then Eurasia, right? All that stuff is like straight up. But if it's tilted 23 degrees on the axis, you're talking about the BRICS represents about 70% of the landmass in the world.
Yep.
Right? And a big part of it is that Brazil is in Latin America. And a lot
Yep.
of those people are Latin American, right? But they're also Afro Latino to a degree. Like, how do you describe what that is, right? Because I'm Haitian American, right? So I understand that like people consider that African, some people consider that Caribbean, some people consider that Latin, right? Where does that land on this?
All three.
People have to understand there are going to be trade relationships that are going to go forward for the next century that are going to redefine how the world moves. America is not going to be on the top forever. Doesn't mean it's going to fall to the bottom. But while it's at the top, people have to figure out how to solve problems. And a lot of this is going to be usurped by a lot of people who are not very happy with how America does business with people. Because I think Mr. Z is Haitian, right?
Yeah, I am, man.
Yeah. A lot of Americans or Haitians in America are not happy with how America does business with Haiti or how it does business with Puerto Rico or with Colombia. Well, Colombians kind of get a decent handshake, but a lot of other countries have not good relationships. I'll say bad relationships with America. You got to figure out
the global south is maneuvering. That what we're saying is it's funny how this conversation has evolved, but the global south does not appreciate the exploitive relationship it has had with the air quotes developed Western countries over the past few centuries, right? And so it's changing.
I think the big thing is that type of relationship that America has with the rest of the world. African folks in America and Latin folks in America do not want to have that type of relationship with each other.
Yes,
we understand there's going to be hierarchies in certain things, but we do not have to have like a serious higher social
hierarchical system.
Exactly, amongst each other, right? We understand that. Like, I understand that. Like a lot of Latin. Look, I have Latin neighbors, I have Asian neighbors, white neighbors. We do not have a dominant system amongst one another. We do have a cooperative system amongst one another, but we do have our HOAs, and we try to figure out how to solve problems amongst each other. That's in a small unit cohort, right? In a broader context, we do not have to have the Latins above the Africans above the Latins. We have to figure out, how do we solve problems? Where do we get business done? Where do we get alliances in certain places? Where do we break apart and we just can't disagree? And then how do we just not cause chaos amongst each other or within each other? It happens differently in different communities. I think the Latins have a slight advantage in that they have a language barrier and a cultural barrier that helps them kind of preserve a lot more of the culture.
I got real quick. I got Zulu Ghost in the building. What's going on, bro? Tell me what you think about this conversation.
Hey, what's up, man? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Zulu, the resident Caspian report. What's going on, Zulu?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I kind of been in and out because I'm not gonna lie to you. I was watching you, bro. I fell asleep, woke back up, y'all was still going. I was like, God damn, boy, it's almost like Jesus. But definitely necessarily. I don't gather myself again. Give me a second. Especially when it comes to like listed with the economical issues, I do totally agree with that necessarily. As that going forward, moving, especially when you're dealing with different, like you said, the global South, Brazil, necessarily South American countries and whatnot, right? I view this necessarily is a good thing necessarily, but a lot of people don't have the foreknowledge or necessarily, expertise necessarily to capture the money that's necessary that is out on the field. They don't know where it is, and a lot of people necessarily aren't necessarily well versed enough to know what to do, even if the situation arose necessarily. So it's a myriad of different things necessarily. But like I said, for me personally, I'm gonna give me a second to necessarily catch back up, and then I'm gonna put in my 2 cents though.
Okay, cool. Kevin C, I know you wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, so somebody said something earlier about, and I can't remember who it was, and this comes up quite a bit. I just want to put this out because I don't have any issue with any other racial group speaking about Black people, Black issues, Black history, Black culture, the politics, whatever's going on, even if it relates to family. It's just, my expectation is that if you're going to do that, then you need to know down to the gnat's ass, meaning that the details and nuance of what it is you're talking about. And every time I see somebody who's not Black talk about Black people, All they talk about is the issues, the surface issues. Everybody's very good at doing that, but they can't explain the issues in a way that makes sense to me. That I've spent, thousands of man hours, as far as studying the history, the culture, living the Black experience, and everything else. And then everybody has this advice on what we need to be doing or should be doing as a people, when they just really don't know the issues. And I'm not just talking about Hispanics. I'm talking about white people too. White people do it. Asians do it too. We literally have a candidate right now that's talking about Black issues on a national platform in support of his candidacy for the presidency in 2024. And he has no idea what he's talking about. He always references the Black pathology argument. And my issue with him and people like him is that if you're going to talk about it, you need to be honest about it and talk about it in a way where you actually, implement that, you actually go into the details. He's not doing that. As a matter of fact, when he talks about fatherless homes, what he's not mentioning is that there's Asian men from his group contributing to the problem as far as Black pathology, because you have Asian men crossing over to Black women. Not a lot, but you have some of them doing it. They're making babies with Black women. They're abandoning those women. They're abandoning those kids, and they go back to their Asian women, marry them, and they raise the Asian family over there. That's literally happening. And that's not just Asian men. That's Hispanic men doing it. It's white men doing it, and some Black men. So if we're going to talk about the problem, then I expect to hear it at that level, and I expect to hear the details of it. Because if you're just going to blame Black men and say Black men are the problem, then you're not being honest with it. And that's why I get on people about it. When I say you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know the details of it. You don't know. You're not really explaining it. You're just saying, well, it's a problem and you guys need to fix it, and it's all Black men's fault. Black men are not going to sit here and listen to everybody blame stuff on them or on us, and then not push back. And that's what Rakim talks about when he says that's the pushback. That's actually part of it, and that's what you guys are going to get. And not just Hispanics. It's going to be white people who get it. It's going to be Asians who get it. It's going to be everybody. That's how it's going to go.
Yeah, basically, it's one of those situations where it's going to be, what did Edward Anderson say? Blaming so-called Black men ain't going to save anybody anymore. You can't just explain everything away. Well, a so-called Black man did it, and that's the problem here. It's like, no, motherfucker, you're going to have to really dig into the weeds and explain what the fuck is going on, because we've been hearing this bullshit for the last, really for centuries, especially over the last 60 years. Remember, the first feature-length film in American history was Birth of a Nation. So people have been doing that. The problem is that, again, when you come out the gate on this like hardline anti-Black misandrist views, any truth that comes out is just going to undermine that argument further and further and further. And what's going to happen is that most of the people, like you said, that want to call themselves trying to speak on so-called Black issues, as what Kevin C said, is that these people are either gaslighters, it's all the so-called Black men's fault, the real masculinity argument, questioning your masculinity, or it's they do unfortunately what a lot of far leftists do is they do like the coddling argument, where it's like we have to basically treat all so-called Black people like they're all like these like mentally disabled children that don't know any better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it falls into one of those two extremes. You know what I mean? Gaslight the hell out of you, or treat you like you're mentally disabled.
Yeah, I want to ask the panel. I want to ask the panel real quick. Denise wanted me to ask if the panel are for Black and Brown unity. I'll just go down the line. Rakim, question: you from Black and Brown unity?
Denise throwing soda cans from the chat box, huh?
I don't know what that means, but
Here we go. Here we go. Now, when I first came on here, I was all in. I've always been on these panels. I've shown nothing but respect to the Latin community. Just like you said, there was a lot of things you ignored, Radical, with FBA. I ignored a lot of the blatant racism that I've seen on here. Yeah. And a lot of people was talking. So at this particular point, no. I'm for an individual, like you said, and that's it.
Okay, gotcha. Kevin C., what about you?
I'm not for it, and the reason I'm not for it is that historically speaking, whenever Black people align with any other group or special interest group, Black people get used for support and the numbers, and then Black people get screwed and get tossed to the side while everybody else gets benefits. So no.
Okay, let me just real quick. not trying to put your business out there, would that also include your personal situation?
Absolutely not, because that's an individual thing.
Got it.
And just be real quick. I know you got to get to everybody else. So I don't condemn the collective. What I do is I look at, I find specific examples, and I always note the examples, which is what everybody else should be doing too, by the way. But just like somebody else mentioned not too long ago, instead of looking at one group subset and then looking at that for what it is, then black people get tagged with that whole negative tag for the entire group. Black people for whatever reason have the ability to do that. Other people really don't. So yeah.
Okay, so you see it somewhat like Rakim, like individualism.
Yeah, I would say individualism because I mean, so if I met you in real, I mean, I know we're basically on the internet, but if I met you in real life, we could get along. I don't have any issue with that. But if I ran into Kevin De Leon, I might want to punch him in the face.
All right, okay, all right, I got you. I'm gonna ask just Jules, are you for Black and Brown unity? Do you think it's a collective? Do you believe in it, or do you think it's an individualistic type of thing?
I mean, we all live. I'm assuming we're all in the U.S., so we are all federated, right? We have some individual autonomy, but we are all working together to make sure that this thing keeps running. And so we do have to have some unity to a certain degree. Doesn't mean we're all in lockstep agreement, but I mean, look, I like Denise, but she does try to poke the bear.
Yes, she does.
All the time. I'm not gonna say sometimes. She tries to poke the bear all the time. But she's in good spirit. But I'll say, like, in general, like, some of my neighbors are Latino, and a lot of them, we get along, try to make things work. We try to find solutions.
Gotcha.
That's where I think it really works. It's like, you have a problem, you're trying to solve it.
And again, I think like Rakim said and Kevin C, I think it's an individualistic type of thing because collectively we're not going to all be in the same boat. Latinos don't want to. Collectively, Latinos are going to be like, no, we don't want to unite, and that's fine. There's going to be individuals like myself that do want to unite. So individualistically, I think we can make something work.
For some stuff, it's going to have to, especially because we're moving into a different era where. Yeah, the U.S. is going to be contended against by the BRICS, right? And then you're going to have jobs within the U.S. that are going to be contended against because, there's going to be a lot of like AI stuff that's going to come in, and there's going to be a lot more tech upgrades beyond just AI, where you're going to have to be highly skilled in certain service sector positions.
Gotcha.
So at that point, you're going to have to know how are you going to be able to operate here?
Yeah,
white collar union, blue collar union. Where are jobs going to go? Where's money going to go? Resources are going to have to be allocated.
Yeah, there's AI is taking over. So
Radical. Can you highlight Daniel Valencia's question?
Yeah, give me 1 minute. Hold on. Let me just go to Big Kev and then Zulu. Big Kev, same question. Do you believe in Black and Brown unity? Do you think it's a collective thing, or do you think it's an individualistic type of thing?
The jury's still out on that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so pretty much, man. Like I said before, again, it's going to be more so a question of just basically staying out of each other's way, like not acting in bad faith, you know what I mean? That type of thing. But as far as this whole we're going to hold our hands and scream kumbaya, no.
Gotcha. Does that also go to the dark skinned Latinos who could pass for Black Americans?
I mean, obviously the same thing would apply too. I mean, unfortunately, there's like a lot of like you said, there's a lot of what they call quote unquote Afro Latinos that get a push to the side, that deserve recognition. I mean, especially in countries like Mexico and Brazil. But I'm saying, as far as like on a large scale, expecting this unity, like I said before, is going to be a matter of just staying out of each other's way, doing business, hey, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, on an individual level, but it's not going to be it's not going to be this role
type of thing.
Kumbaya shit. It's not gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Did everybody already go, or you still you go? Okay, all right, I'll hold up for a second. I'm gonna have to address this. But
okay. Zulu, same question. Do you believe in Black and Brown unity? Do you think it's a collective? Do you think it's an individualistic type of thing? Well, give me your thoughts.
I kind of look at it like I kind of go with the historical route necessarily. I was like I'll do business with anybody. You mean money is still money?
That's a fact. I'm not gonna. That's a fact. Green is green.
Right necessarily, but I'm just always aware necessarily of people's mindset, right? Like I see how people do, like apply this. If I go to your country and I see like all the black people over there just like fucked up, like I know if I come to you and do business, I already know what your mindset probably is. That's how I kind of view things. I'm more of a like in between kind of thing. I mean, like I understand that the collective unit necessarily, like, oh, you gotta be able to do this, quote unquote, like what is it?
I feel you like you don't go into a situation blind, right? You go.
Yeah. I'm never going into situation. Even when I go to other countries, I go to other countries. I study going there, like at least 2 months before I go.
Gotcha. Okay. I feel you. I think that's a good way to maneuver. You know what I mean? Because you don't know who's who or how they're gonna perceive you and all that. Okay, wait. So, Rakim and Kevin, what do you want me to highlight? Because now I'm lost.
Well, it was I wanted you to highlight Daniel Valencia's question about Kevin C.
Okay. Wait. Let me see. It said Denise question if Latin America is that one? Is that it?
Go up.
Okay. Hold on.
He asked a question about Kevin C.
Okay, he asked a question. Denise, aren't there can't be no, that's not it.
It's basically about, I think it's about me being married to a Latino woman, right?
And being all up in Latin American countries like people all over.
Wait. To let people know, I think America's no, I don't think that's it.
Yeah, because
I'm actually, you know what's very interesting is that I'm actually in the United States right now, and I'll be in the United States for months right now.
Okay. What's the question that he did that he said?
Well, I'll paraphrase it. He said, "Why don't you ask Kevin C about him being all up in it, since you don't believe in since Latinos are so racist about him being in a Latin American country and being married to."
I think he answered that. It's individualistic, right? He answered that, right?
Yeah.
Denise said he's hiding amongst us, looking for a family and all of this other crap.
All right.
Even though he's the provider of his family and half the money that's coming in, but you go ahead, Kevin C.
I want y'all to understand something. You can actually, interact with other people that has nothing to do with the collective. All right. I hate to say it because it sounds racist, but I actually have white friends and white people that I like, but at the same time, as a collective, the group has not shown us the respect and dignity and the full rights that we deserve as members and citizens of the United States. And I told y'all this multiple times. I'm in and out of the United States multiple times throughout the year. At least 6 times. I fly back and forth. All right. I stay for 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 2 to 3 months. I'm here in the United States right now. I'll be here for the next few months. So I'm in my country and I do what it is I do. My wife comes periodically. And then, all this other stuff and everything else. But here's one thing I noticed is that if you cannot have a discussion without actually attacking somebody's personally, attacking their family, bringing their kids into it, bringing their life into it and all this other stuff, then what you're showing is that you don't have a solid argument. Attack the talking points, break that down, and actually make that make sense. That's how you need to focus, because I'm going to tell you right now, when you do stuff like that, what that shows me is that you're out of talking points, and anything that you come up with, I've already defeated. Like, you're literally admitting defeat in the comments. And the other thing too is that, there's this idea. So here's one thing, and I'm gonna go ahead. I guess Denise is still in the comments, so I'll go ahead and address her while she's here. Is that she mentioned this one time? She said, "Well, you're coming over to our community and getting our women." Look, first of all, black men are not making this mass exodus.
She said that.
She said something to that effect.
Oh shit!
And she also hold on 1 second, Kevin. She also told the man, "Why don't you just divorce your Latina and go marry a LaQuisha or whatever the hell you said, Denise?"
Yep, that's absolutely a personal attack. I didn't respond to it. I didn't make a big deal about it. The thing is that when you do stuff like that, you're out of talking points. And the other thing, and the thing with that too is this: it's very simple. Is that look when is that when you bring people in that has nothing to do with the actual argument and the topic, then again you just made this whole thing about something other than what it is. And as it relates to, I'll go ahead and let Rakim talk, because I wanted to add something else, but I know you had something else to add to it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny how Denise, you had the same energy for Fighter Complex and Lord Hokage, but the people that's been the nicest to you the most, you want to get aggressive with. But it's all good. That's what it is. You showing your true colors on who you are.
Well,
But
the concern, so here's the thing with the passport bros. The concern is that black men are like poaching women from other countries. First of all, the black men who actually leave the United States are some of the best and better black men. All right, we're the ones that's actually capable of doing that. So anytime we actually interact with women from other countries or people from other countries, you're not talking to a pookie here. You're talking to one of the top men in the group. All right, I've looked at it and I checked that. I'm already in the top 30% of all black men in America on everything that I do, with my life experience, my finances, everything that I know, my education, and all the other stuff. I'm actually one of the best men in America. So that's what y'all got. All right. Now, the fact that I didn't wind up with a black American woman, that's unfortunate, but it just happened to work out that way. And then the way Denise framed this is that you guys are coming over and poaching our women. Here's what's actually happening. And I told you guys this already. You have men from the Hispanic race, from the white race, some Asians and other races of men coming over to black women, having sex with black women, making babies with black women, not marrying those women, and then leaving those women and abandoning those mixed race kids and trying to dump them on black men and then expecting black men to clean up the mess. No, what you're supposed to do is deal with those women, marry those women, take care of your kids. And if you don't address that, then what you're doing is actually ruining the women that the black men are supposed to actually get. That's what you guys are doing. Or some of you guys. And it's the degenerate men who are doing that. This idea that black men are running around, ruining every other group, there's no record or history of us doing that.
Real quick.
And you guys, when you guys say that, it's actually very dishonest.
Yeah,
bro. Denise trying to get some white cock in her mouth, bro. I don't really take her seriously.
No, don't say that. Let's not do that. My whole point is that I'm attacking the argument. I'm not attacking them. And what I'm saying is that you literally have degenerate men from other races coming over, literally ruining the black women.
Hold on. I had to say something real quick. I believe, truth be told, I think the reason why certain people do that, talk about it personally or whatever the case is the same way why certain people who are pro-black but date white women get attacked. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think the reason why that they certain people saying that, okay, you believe this about Latinos, but yet your wife is Latina. Doesn't that apply?
My wife is, first of all, she's Afro-Latino, dark-skinned Latino. And it's different when a man is dating a woman married to a woman because the woman follows the man's lead.
But
all right. So that's the problem when you have black women who do all of that stuff.
But
and they running around.
Kevin C, hold on. RL, you were trying to ask a specific question with that. What were you trying to ask? Because I was not entirely clear.
Excuse me.
Okay, everybody's talking. Wait. Just Jules, what you just said?
You made an assumption there, and I was trying to understand what you were trying to say, but you were also asking a question.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I was gonna ask the question. I didn't get to ask it.
Yeah, it was implied in it, but I didn't get it.
My point. I said the reason why certain people do that and go at Kevin C, personally, is because the same reason why certain people who are pro-black but yet date white women get at personally. Saying that that's that's very hypocritical if you talk about white supremacy if you date white women. You know what I'm saying? Now that's the reason why I see the reason for that. I see, okay, Kevin C, you have you say certain things about Latinos or whatever the case is. Would that apply to your wife? That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand why certain people say that.
If it applied to my wife, I wouldn't be married to her.
Now, of course, but now what I'm going at, I understand that. You have to constantly say your wife is Afro-Latina. I don't have my wife is Afro-Latina too, but I don't have to constantly say that. I just say she's Latina. Her culture is very different from Black American culture. You see what I'm saying? So
and that's fine.
But what do people think of when they think of a Latino, Radical?
Yeah,
do they think of a mestizo or do they think of an Afro-Latino person?
It depends on where you're at in the country.
Yeah,
they think Mexican.
If you're in New York,
they usually think of whatever they saw.
It's different if you're in Texas.
No, wait, hold on, Jules. They usually think of whatever they saw on Univision.
Yeah, Mexican
at the forefront. So
that's why they're not the dark-skinned Latinos.
No, of course. That's what I just said.
So that's why I make an emphasis on that she's a dark-skinned Latino woman who actually. Basically, if she's standing next to me, matter of fact, when she was here in the United States, everybody else assumed she was black.
Okay, but my Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm about to start wrapping this thing up. I'm gonna go to the bottom and
Excuse me.
then what's up?
I didn't get a chance to answer the question.
Answer what
Me
question?
neither.
Answer what
Okay.
question?
Oh, I thought you
I
got
do
you put it on
believe.
hold.
Wait. About the black and brown unity. I didn't ask you guys because I already know your answer.
Oh, okay, no
Actually,
problem.
That's why.
okay.
What, Don? You gonna say no? You don't believe in that shit?
No, actually, I'm just gonna say this. I actually do because if you really look at it, I mean, the way that I grew up and everything like that, I've had hate from three sides: the African Americans, the Latinos, and the whites. So why? This is my thing. Why we're gonna go and we're gonna go fight each other, go to jail, and while we're fighting each other, you have certain people that will think that they have power just because they're kissing another man's bootstraps, but at the same time, they don't really have any real power. And that's what's going wrong with our communities.
That's true.
Because if we had real economic power, do you think they're going to go with all the disrespectful stuff that they do towards African Americans, Caribbean Americans, Latino Americans? No.
I wouldn't think so. Yeah.
So therefore, while we fighting for crumbs, we could actually unite and get gold.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you're right, but the best time to get that done was like 50, 60 plus years ago at the height of the civil and the black power movements. People forget this. Understand, guys, I got hundreds of not hundreds of thousands. I got thousands of man hours in academic study and all this other stuff. And I keep saying that because people have this idea that somehow we don't know what it is we're talking about. Black people have been doing nothing but uniting and allying themselves with people who are supposed to be helping them, get to a point where we don't have to do, fight anymore and all this other stuff. And in every turn from the 1800s all the way up until literally the 1960s and post after that, we have been getting nothing but screwed. Like at this point now, it's everybody else's turn. No. Everybody else has to actually prove that they're going to actually align with black people in a serious way and do it in a way that's actually constructive.
That's not true. That's not true. Black Americans screwed themselves over. They got. What do you mean? How? Tell me who snitched on
what I
Hampton.
said. How? What do you mean?
No.
I'm
Let me finish that up.
I'm gonna say the same thing you told me, Rocket. What, you don't read? Like, who snitched on Fred Hampton? It was another Black American.
Absolutely.
Anytime,
you know why?
Hold on 1 second, Kevin.
I'm just saying.
Anytime, any organization of anybody, any group, most of the time, it's they own that double cross them. So Latin America screwed Latin America over. Ain't that's why y'all coming over here?
Exactly, but I'm not. But Latinos are not over here talking about when we unite, that y'all screw us over. I'm not saying that.
No, see, he's pointing out. RL is pointing out something very unique, that traitors always should get dealt with harshly. Right when Geronimo,
that's what I'm saying.
Geronimo was betrayed by people in his own tribe to the Americans, to the Western Europeans who came and colonized this land. But when they finished betraying him, the people put his traitors on the train with him to go to the extermination camps because nobody can trust a traitor. So Denise asked earlier, what do you do with women who choose to other men over their own men?
Come on,
men choose women in different ways than men. Women choose men different ways than men choose women. So you have to understand that there's different motivations here. You have to operate in a different fashion. I'm not saying
not only that, it's not happening in high enough numbers to be significant.
No,
it's not happening in high enough numbers. Matter of fact, it's the Asian women who actually go out of the race the most.
To white men, but I trust me, man. When I was in undergrad, there were a lot of women who were trying. A lot of women wanted to experiment, and I understand that is what
I get all that. Hey, check this out. When you guys say that some black person betrayed another black person, that you simplifying it down to something that's actually not true. William O'Neill was actually coerced by the FBI to do what he did.
He's still
he's an infiltrator. Now, and the reason they actually was able to get him to betray his own people was that they had something on him.
Kevin, when you make comments like, well, we try to unite, but nothing really gets done.
No, it doesn't.
What you're saying is that you guys really tried, and we so happen to fuck it up. No.
Well, I give you the perfect example, Radical.
Wow,
Black
it's
politics.
150
No,
plus
no,
years
no,
of
but
black people trying to
Hold
do
on
the
one
right
second,
thing.
wait. How about
Hold on
how?
one second,
No,
brother.
how about you address that? How about you
Yeah,
address
I'm
that?
about to address it right now. I'm addressing it directly so you can understand exactly.
No. You're gonna give me a history lesson. How about you address
No,
that?
no,
What
I
I'm
ain't
saying-
giving you no. I ain't giving you no
what I'm
history
tell-
lesson.
what I'm saying
Black
is
Can I hop in and say
when you
something?
make
Black,
when you
hold
make-
on,
when you make-
hold on,
when you
everybody.
make comments
Black
when you
politicians say
wait,
black and
wait,
brown.
wait,
Black
when you make
politicians don't say brown and black.
when you
Oh,
make
that's your address right
hold
there.
on. That doesn't make sense. When you make comments like that, talking about we tried but we get screwed over, you're literally dismissing what y'all own people did. That's what I'm saying.
No. They're responsible for it too. Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly.
They're responsible for it too.
Why don't you say, well, we tried to unite with everybody else, but unfortunately, we got coons in our community that ended up messing it up.
We invented the term coon, Radical. Coon, Sambos. People that are turncoats.
Is that
That's absolutely true.
Say that?
Rakim? Is that the argument that who invented coons? Is that what we're really talking about right now?
No, the term if
exactly. So we're fighting about nothing. You're fighting about nothing. You're fighting about nothing.
The whole term coon is
you're fighting about nothing. Rakim, you're fighting about nothing. Rakim, you're fighting about nothing. That has
No. So radical is right. He's right. But check this, because there's Hispanics that have actually, and you guys haven't said it, but I've actually heard Hispanics and other discussions say, look, your own people have sold you out. You guys don't have any political power because of that. They know the political class have sold us out. They know some celebrities have sold us out. We even have leaders that have sold us out. Look, the only thing we have left is basically at the family level and the grassroots level. That's it. We black people have to clear out a whole lot of people.
I understand that,
and we don't do that targeted. We can't target them for assassination. We just got to vote them out and get rid of them.
What I'm trying to say is statements like that make it seem like Latinos, Asians, and other white folks got together and say, well, let's fuck up Fred Hampton. How we're gonna do it is this and this and this.
But it was the FBI who did that.
That's how it makes it seem. You know, when statements come to that saying like black folks really came to the table with other people and go like, all right, let's actually try to do this thing together, and then Latinos go like, yo, fuck that, we're gonna actually try to fuck it over. No. Let me
ask you something.
Hold on, Kevin. See, let me say something real quick, brother, because they not look when it comes to our history, we can say that from my channel or something, because these people don't care. There's no sense in explaining something to people that don't care. So to hell with all of that. First and foremost, when we say that people screw us over, at one point black people patronized Italian businesses. What did Italians turn around and do when they was at the bottom? Once they got their honorary white status, they turn around and start calling black people's Muliana, takes them out of business. I'm explaining to you people that fuck black people over when they try to unite.
Okay, all right, okay, that fuck black people
over. Talking about?
Okay, wait. Stick to the conversation. That fuck black people. Okay. Hold on. That fuck black people over. Got it. Name me a Latino that killed Fred Hampton.
Nobody's saying a Latino killed Fred Hampton. What are you talking about?
Stick to the damn subject, because that's
what are you talking about, dude? Nobody's talking about.
Dude, you literally jumped from something else to something else that had nothing to do with it. First of all,
but check this out, Radical. I do have a question now.
Nobody's talking about that. Now you're talking about, we're talking about you people who fuck black people over. We weren't talking about that. What we were talking about is those rioters that were doing their thing back in the 60s, and then Kevin C even said, well, we tried to unite, and I'm trying to clarify that. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, all right, and that's fair. That's fair.
Into something else, Rakim. Come on, dude.
Yeah, the only disagreement I will have is if you say, well, it was William O'Neill who actually set Fred Hampton up. Yeah, but he did that with the help of the FBI at their direction, and because he was coerced into doing it. Same thing with Malcolm X. Yeah, it was black people who did it, but who was behind it? Like, if you simplify it down to that, and at this point, there's nothing wrong with every group just trying to regroup and do their own thing and kind of build themselves out and get their stuff cleaned out, because that's what black people need to do away from everybody else. Because this whole alliance and trying to link up with other people and while we have our own internal issues, it's not working out right now. It really isn't. Black people need to just clear away from everybody else, do what it is they need to do, get stuff cleared up, and then when it gets closer to being right, then yeah, it would make sense to actually link up, because now we have leaders who can actually trust, who are going to advocate on our behalf and actually do what they're supposed to do. Right now, that political class, how is it that Asians got a hate crime protection bill when black people are the victims of hate crimes more than anybody else? It's because you have a political class that has sold out their own.
No,
Yes,
I explained it. I explained it yesterday. They got legal representation. They paid money, big money, and they ended up getting what they wanted.
And that's good, but paying money or not, what are those people in the CBC there for? What are those black politicians there for? They're there to advocate on behalf of the actual people that they represent.
That's for the voters, bro.
We know they're not going to do shit. So
that's my whole point. So we got to get rid of those folks. So
I mean, can we hang on one second? Like, I mean, like, God, honestly, I've been kind of listening to y'all for a minute. Like, in some of these things, I got to be a little bit more tactical. But like, of course, you got coons, but you got coons out here in Africa. But you got white people didn't run over to the world and just beat everybody ass, bro. They came over there and said, "Hey, bro, you go beat his ass, bro. You Chickasaw, you go fight Lil Bear." They went over to Africa and say, "Oh, you Yoruba, go fight him for me real quick." And that's how they took over the world. It was divide and conquer. So like, if you don't understand, the problem is you can't punish or kill your coon fast enough. That's really the problem, bro. Like that's really got on to the real issue, bro. Mm-hmm. It's nothing else other than that. Because if your coon can necessarily get punished or your trader can get punished necessarily, you wouldn't have that many traders, correct?
Absolutely. That's one of the first things they did in the Haitian Revolution was they took out all the traders from the beginning.
They got rid of all the traders, bro.
Real quick, guys, hold on, just real quick. I'm gonna just do this because I'm about to wrap it up, and I even give time for people to give their final thoughts. And I'm sorry for that because I don't want to go over 3 hours. It's 2:50. That's good enough. Listen, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know this one really too long, but it is what it is. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Peace.